2025. Please allow me some grace and forgive my ignorance. I will admit when I am not informed about something, when I have questions, and when I have curiosities, because I hope in my vulnerability, because some of y'all expect me to know everything. I don't know everything. I probably know far less than you think I know. Here's the difference. The stuff that I know real good, right? And my radio shows are based on the stuff that I know real good. If there's stuff that I don't know real good, never talk about it. You'll never hear the stuff I don't know real good. But in this current era that we are in, and I feel an obligation to try and interpret it and explain it, but then to extract something positive out of it. Like, how can we move forward? How can we be better? How can we be more informed? How in the hell can we prevent something like this from happening again? While this is hell that we are going through, and I've got a real interesting perspective on hell, I don't think that hell is a place. Hell is what you go through. And you can go through hell on earth. And then the climate getting warmer ain't coincidence. I am more concerned for two things. What still has yet to unfold in this country as we move toward the consequences for the right. The consequences for the right is they're going to lose elections. Because, you know what, believe it or not, there's people that are very angry about what is going on right now. And it's not just your typical Democrats. There's going to be disaffected and very disappointed Republicans as well. And so I'm worried about once the writing on the wall becomes even more clear, where while the Democrats are not everybody's favorite, there's going to be a point in time fairly soon where they're going to look like a much more reasonable and rational alternative. And I say that because Joe Biden was probably too old to run for president in 2020, but because he appeared to be more down to earth, reasonable, rational, and less extreme, he got elected. I can do you a better example because Wisconsin is a political bellwether. We elected Tony Evers, who is just a mild-mannered, regular old folksy Wisconsinite dude, not overly political, doesn't really use harsh language. Tony Evers doesn't even use cuss words. He says stuff like holy mackerel. But he was the calm, almost just like benignly boring governor that we wanted after 2 terms of Scott Walker, who was overtly political in all of his policy pronouncements, including Act 10. So America has the history, the historic pedigree of wanting to move back to something that's a little bit more sane and rational after we've had a bunch of turmoil. And once the Republicans see that that is likely going to be their fate for the foreseeable future, they're going to lose some elections, maybe some governor's races. They're going to lose some congressional seats, maybe some U.S. Senate seats, to Democrats, because the Democratic Party, while not perfect, is going to seem a little bit more calm and rational on matters that are most important to the American people. And so where I believe I am ignorant and I want to expose this vulnerability in hopes to learn is, what was I missing about Charlie Kirk? Like, they have a day now. They're going to do a day. They're going to do it I'm not kidding you. They're planning a national holiday to commemorate his life, his death, and then his birthday, like a whole bunch of stuff. It took 20 years to get MLK holiday, but I'm not going to compare. I saw a side-by-side. Somebody did a side-by-side, which is half Charlie Kirk's picture and half Martin Luther King, and it was a white conservative that posted it, and they said, both died for their political views. Not the same, guys. Please, can we not make that comparison? I feel like I'm not doing my job effectively enough if people can get away with that comparison, because they're very different. But let me also say this, and I don't want to use vulgar language. I don't want to use it, but sometimes I run out of non-vulgar language. Conservatives have an erection for Dr. King because of what they know about him. All they know is the nonviolent part. They want violence reserved for their side. I'm going to prove it. They want to be the ones that control the direction of the country with violence. So when there's a peacemaker like Dr. King that promotes nonviolence, they love him. And they also throw Dr. King's nonviolence in our faces when there are incidences of turmoil and trouble and malaise in the black community. They say, Dr. King wouldn't be happy with you, while they just went and shot up a government building or just killed an abortion doctor. They'll tell us when there's a homicide, which could be related to domestic violence in our community, Dr. King wouldn't like that. Dr. King promoted nonviolence so that those who were fighting and marching and protesting for justice weren't fighting back against the violence of right-wing white supremacy. I hope that came out right. If you're out there protesting because you want to go register to vote, and you're not, when I say protesting, you're walking down the street, and you don't do anything to anybody, you don't punch anybody back, and they bring out the police department, and they bring out the dogs, and then they bring out the fire trucks and the hoses. And if the black people are they're walking and they're singing, we shall overcome, we shall overcome. That's the most peaceful song on the planet. When I hear that song, I just want to grab someone's hand and embrace them. So if the black people are singing "We Shall Overcome" and they're just walking, they got their children, and they were dressed so nice. If we even had a reinvigoration of the civil rights movement now, people's pants would be sagging, people would be wearing bonnets and slippers. But they were dressed so nice. And then the cameras would show up, and the violence was always one way. It was the police officers beating people. It was the dogs biting people, and it was the fire hoses tearing people apart from one another that were holding hands. The non-violence creed of the civil rights movement was to show the violence was only coming from one side. Had black people fought back like a lot of people wanted us to do you know how that would have looked? It would have looked like black and white people fighting in the streets 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So nonviolence was used to show that the violence was only coming from one side, and that was the white nationalist, white supremacist side. They want to use violence. They want to monopolize violence. And so this brings me back to Charlie Kirk. So I saw another article about him. They had a candlelight vigil for him in Waukesha. Not shocked. Waukesha County, if you are not familiar, it is the county that is directly west of Milwaukee County. So if you're driving on 94 West and you cross 124th Street, which is the westernmost boundary of Milwaukee County, boom, you're in Waukesha County. I don't know if they still have this moniker, but they, for a period of time over several presidential election cycles, Waukesha County was one of the most Republican voting counties, not just in Wisconsin, not just in the Midwest, but in the United States of America. So they're still extremely Republican voting. They're losing a little bit of ground, but probably 65% of the votes that come out of Waukesha County in statewide contests and in national contests go to Republicans. But then I saw Scott Walker, who's a former two-term governor of Wisconsin, very conservative. He's an evangelical himself, very right-wing, Scott Walker. He spoke at the Charlie Kirk vigil. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I missing about this dude? Because now remember, my algorithm did not expose me to the speeches and the reels of Charlie Kirk like other folk. Okay, so I knew of him. I also knew, I was like, oh, he's not my cup of tea. Like, I didn't go out of my way to research him and to find out what he was saying and to follow his tours, because I just knew that he wasn't for me, and I only have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of bandwidth during my waking hours, and I simply cannot pursue things that do not pertain to me, right? I can't follow everything, and I can't read about everybody and watch everybody's Instagram stories. So I knew about this guy for some years. I just didn't really pay much attention to him because I figured that there were other things much more important and much more pressing. But then I saw this candlelight vigil in Waukesha, which makes it somewhat local. And then the former governor, Scott Walker, spoke. And then I saw the Trump administration wanted to make his birthday a national holiday. I'm just like, what? What the hell am I missing? Because there's no comparable figure on the left. And I asked you all maybe yesterday or the day before, who is the comparable figure that has incited the youth, the alphas and the Gen Zs? They know Charlie Kirk, knew Charlie Kirk very, very well. He garnered respect from older conservatives, from libertarians. Like, he was a lightning rod. He was a real popular dude. Then I asked people, like, hey, who is the equivalent on the left? And what's crazy is a couple of you guys said some names, but there were people I never heard of. Everybody on the right has heard of Charlie, okay? But we have no equivalent on the left. Therefore, it's really tough for me to relate. And I couldn't even say Barack Obama, because Barack Obama has divorced himself from us. Every now and again, you may get a statement from Barack Obama. More often than not, you're going to see a picture of him wearing a Hawaiian shirt, drinking something out of a coconut. Maybe Michelle is with him. Maybe she isn't. But Barack Obama has checked out. Like, he is not. Barack Obama is not now what Bill Clinton was. When Bill Clinton left office, he was fundraising. He was hanging out with people in Hollywood. Like, he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton was a fixture in the Democratic Party for decades after he left office. Bill Clinton has been out of office for 25 years. Right? He was elected in 92, reelected in 96, left office January 20th, 2001. But stayed a fixture. Barack Obama is not that fixture. So we don't have a comparable on the left. Charlie Kirk was their guy. But then I had to think deeper about this, because I'm really perplexed. Like, what is it about this dude? Well, I figured it out. I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you what I figured out and why he was so motivational, influential, powerful. He was flown back on Air Force Two. Like, his body was flown back with the vice president. He wasn't even elected. He was just a popular dude, you know? But I figured out why he means so much to them. And I'm going to do my level best to explain it to you all in a way that is objective and nonpartisan. But then I'm going to provide more details that kind of foreshadows what I think is coming in Charlie's wake, because it is going to impact and influence our politics. And even though he's passed away now, and we like to move on and talk about other things, and I will, but his influence is going to be felt, and to some extent, we're going to have to deal with it politically and socially for the foreseeable future. So I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you what I figured out about why his influence was just so damn tangible. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back shortly.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
From the biggest stars to the greatest moments, Behind the Bucks is Bucks history like you've never heard it before. It's all on Behind the Bucks on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the new ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
Tracy, going back to the process, and as it relates specifically to the partnership that Old National Bank has with Housing Resource, what does the process consist of when coming through this program?
You know, it's a referral process. We work with clients that first-time homeowners that may not have the counseling that they need. They may not have the equity, the down payment that they need. So we refer them to our partners like HRI or Housing Resources, Inc., because we recognize that those organizations, they have the resources, they have the tutorial documentation and all of those things that are necessary for first-time homeowners that don't know the process, may not know the system, may not know what's required for home ownership. So working with Housing Resources, Inc. and other partnerships that we have like through WIDA has been very, very advantageous, not only for us, but also the organizations, but also for the community.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Here's what I figured out. So there's a couple of different, I guess, political viewpoints in this country. You know, there's obviously Democrats, there's Republican, you know, there's evangelical, and there's revolutionary and reactionary, there's libertarians and democratic socialists. On that note, there is a woman who I think she would call herself a democratic socialist, Francesca Hong. She has decided to enter the race for governor of Wisconsin. I do want to touch on that because I think that's an important moment to highlight. I'm going to talk about that probably later on in the show. As we move more to a majority-minority country, candidates for public office are going to start to come out of the woodwork that are from traditionally underrepresented groups politically. Francesca Hong is Hmong, and because Hmong populations are growing, us in Minnesota, did you guys know that? Us, Minnesota, and California have the highest Hmong populations in the country, and as they get more politically engaged and their populations grow, they're going to start producing candidates. There's been Hmong local elected officials in Wisconsin for the past maybe couple of decades, but they're also going to start stepping up their game. And I think that she is an interesting moment in Wisconsin/American political history, because as we move more toward majority-minority status, you are going to obviously see probably more African Americans, more Latinos, more Asian, Southeast Asian, Indian folks running for public office. So we'll talk about what her campaign could potentially represent. But here's what I figured out about Charlie Kirk. Incredible wit, blisteringly intelligent. Now, intelligent, my opinion, on the wrong stuff, but he could communicate ignorance in a way that sounded beautifully academic. It really was to be a fan of intellectual delivery, which I am. I just want all intellectual delivery that I hear to agree with me. He didn't, but he was really good. Because I watched a couple of his debates. Now here's the other thing. He's debating college kids. You put me on a college campus, I'll crush any of those kids because I've got 25 plus years of lived experience, and I probably read more books than the college kids because I'm so much older. So you put me on a college campus, I'll shred those kids. And plus, they don't really have political identities. If you're 19 years old, whatever you know about politics, you probably got from your mama and your daddy. What I know about politics is from working in the field for 20 years for a governor, a mayor, and a member of Congress, right? Now, I did see a couple of little mini debates between him and professors. He got crushed, right? But, for a 31-year-old, he was a handsome guy, beautiful wife. Andrew said he wasn't handsome. In the traditional white fella sense, he's clean cut. He looked just like a good old altar boy. He had the image. His image was saleable as a conservative.
Way better than him, Sherwin. What are we talking about?
You know what you do, especially in that Brewers hat. But the clean-cut image, and he was a Christian, people like that. He had the wife. He had the two beautiful young children. He was marketable to a conservative movement that likes to hide its sinister intentions behind glamour. And he was very well spoken. And he'd go around the college campuses and he would just crush college kids intellectually. Here's what Charlie Kirk was. He was the academic and intellectual mouthpiece of right-wing terror and violence. He could justify their desire to save their country because he was incredibly motivational for folks. And he was kind of respectful too sometimes. Now, he would crush these college kids. He would. And so people would think wow, this guy has it together. And he's a Christian, and he's got a wife, and he's got two kids, and he's young. He was 31 years old. That's very young to have the kind of influence that he had. But he got people so incredibly motivated, not just people that are middle-aged and older, young people, and young people are very impressionable. So he was essentially a general leading an army, this next generation of young MAGA faithful, and he got a tremendous amount of respect. But you also have to keep in mind, the reason why there's no equivalent on the left, or the left's equivalent looks different, Charlie Kirk was the intellectual and academic figurehead that could encourage more right-wing political violence, which, let's be clear, has always existed in this country. Go back to the antebellum South, lynchings and murders and beatings of black people and the formation of the KKK. Let me be clear about the KKK, because a lot of folks don't really know what the impetus of that group is and or was. They're an anti-suffrage group. The KKK formed because they did not want black people registering and voting and running for office and winning and electing other black people that could use political power to subjugate white people. So political violence has always been a tool of intimidation for a political ethos, the political ethos that really discovered this nation. You have to keep the natives down and the black people down, et cetera, and we will use violence to do that because violence was a useful tool in conquering America. So it's always going to be in the lexicon. But as time goes on, the appearance or the figurehead for that violence is going to look different. And if you can get someone who is academically strong and witty and checks all the boxes and they're handsome and they're married and they're a Christian and they've got 2 kids and they're somewhat respectful in their dialogue, that's just the next figurehead for the violent movement. I'm going to illustrate to you today that the overwhelming majority of political violence in this country comes from the right. I'm going to illustrate that to you with data, with facts, with statistics, with public news articles. And I'm doing that as a juxtaposition to Donald Trump now wants to use the damn RICO law to go after left-wing groups because Donald Trump is saying, no, it's the left that's violent. Remember, what he accuses the other side of doing is what he is doing. Donald Trump benefits from political violence. What do you think January 6th was? Why do we still not have a profound understanding of that act of political violence that he incited with almost no effort? They organized January 6th on the surface internet. During Trump's term, they were using, I think one of the apps was Signal, right? Andrew says yes. And then there was another one where they were kind of deep underground planning some of their terrorist plots. They did January 6th for the world to see. And it didn't really take a whole lot of effort. You know, you had some talking heads, you had some Steve Bannons, you probably had maybe an Alex Jones or two and a few other folks really firing up their listenership. But January 6th was just the beginning. And so I want everyone to have a focus on this because as we're talking about political violence and how horrible it is that Charlie Kirk was killed, political violence has been a tool, a successful tool in colonizing America. And there's covert forms of it. Covert forms of it are, we're going to segregate the black people to these places, these spaces. We're not going to let them leave. We're going to have laws preventing them from borrowing money from banks, from buying real estate. And because we know where they live, we can defund or underfund all of the things that these communities need to be successful. And when you do not provide resources to a person, to a community, they're going to suffer. Violence, drug addiction, abuse, all of those things are going to happen. And then what you do is you have an education system that ignores the fact that people were treated this way on purpose. So when those people show the impact of not being invested in, you get to blame them and you can build politics off of that. You don't want these people living in your neighborhood. No, I sure don't. Vote for me. I'm a Republican. I'll make sure they stay there. Okay, because if these people move into your neighborhood, then the price of your real estate is going to go down. Oh, well, we don't want that. One of the most hurtful things I've ever learned about the city of Milwaukee, and I've learned a lot of hurtful things, it's the city that just keeps on giving. When we had extreme white flight in the city of Milwaukee, there was a period of time, late 1940s, early 1950s, where there was so much industrial employment in this city after World War II, people didn't care who they lived next to because everybody had money. Nobody cared. All their kids went to the public schools. They were all making money. Here's the other thing. Depending upon the neighborhood you lived in, Yeah, you had black neighbors and you had white neighbors. Latinos hadn't arrived yet. They hadn't. They were still, I don't know, building railroads. They weren't here yet. But a lot of times, based on where you live, black people and white people, not only do they live in the same neighborhood, they work together. They walk to work together. Those old pictures of black men and white men walking together with a lunch pail and a hard hat. Honey, I'll be home at a coffee thermos. What the hell kind of coffee were you guys drinking where you needed a thermos? Now we go to Starbucks, spend $7. Real estate speculators knew that they could take advantage of this, like, all ever-present fear of blackness. Now, the fear of blackness in the upper Midwest was a little bit different than it was in the South. In the South, I think they feared our political power doing to them what they did to us. In the North, it was more economic competition because freed slaves that wanted to move north after slavery ended were locked out of some industrial jobs because freed slaves were tradesmen. Because if you were a slave, you learned every skill set because when the crops were in the ground, you still had to work. So they taught you how to be a blacksmith. They taught you how to build houses and build a barn, how to shoe horses, how to do all those things. So when black men were finally freed and moved north, there was no factory job they weren't qualified for because they'd been learning some of these skills since they were 12. So up north, they created closed shop unions to prevent freedmen from taking jobs from white folks up north that were learning a trade, and we knew the trade since we were children because we were slaves. Really weird how that works, you see. But there was always like a fear, or what happens if there's too many blacks. So it was real estate speculators. They started knocking on doors of white people and said, you know, when more and more black people move into this neighborhood, the price of your house is going to go down. And back then, your home was your primary source of retirement income. And so white folks were like, well, I don't want the value of my house to go down. And so the real estate speculators would say, look, your house is worth $15,000 right now. I'll give you 10 grand cash. And we're building a community in Waukesha. We have some land we want to develop, some old farmland out way far away. We're going to build a freeway. Don't worry. You're still going to be able to get to your factory job in the city of Milwaukee. We're going to build a freeway, which we did. And we want you to, we're going to build you a house out there in the suburbs. And look, your house right now is worth $15,000. Yes, I know that you can walk to work with your hard hat in, your lunch pail, and your coffee thermos, and you live next to Leroy. But if more Leroys come, your $15,000 house is going to be worth $5,000. I'll give you 10 grand right now to move. That's what happened. And the white families were like, well, I can't have my house go down to $5,000. I mean, I like Leroy, but that's impacting my retirement and my investment. It was real estate speculators that took advantage of racial fears, and they told people that the value of their investment, their primary investment, would go down if and when more black people moved in. Completely, totally, and categorically false. Yet for some reason today in 2025, black neighborhoods are still undervalued. The Biden estimate was at about $150 billion. If a black person lives in a neighborhood, the property is going to be undervalued. That has still remained true to this day. That is horrifying to me. So when we talk about reparations, I know I'm getting off script a little bit. That's where we would start. Just value our property like everybody else's. But at the same time, they underfund our schools. They don't pour in the same amount of resources. So it's this horrible, vicious cycle that conservatives and Republicans oftentimes take advantage of. Take a break, come back. I'm going to tell you why there is no equivalent to Charlie Kirk on the left, because fundamentally the premises of the two political parties are so incredibly different. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Celebrate the reigning queens of disco with Disco Divas, running at the Bradley Symphony Center September 26th through the 28th. Principal Pops conductor Byron Stripling will lead the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra and an all-star trio of vocalists in all of your favorite hits from the disco era. Think Donna Summer, Patti LaBelle, Diana Ross, and Chaka Khan, as well as the Bee Gees, Earth, Wind & Fire, and even Michael Jackson. Those silky high strings and thumping bass lines will never sound better as you dance and sing along in your seat to tunes like I Will Survive, We Are Family, I'm Coming Out, and more. So what are you waiting for? Get those sequins out of storage and call the box office now at 414-291-7605 for Disco Divas or visit mso.org.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Here is Kyle Wallace with his truth.
Truth Nation, I guess I've officially graduated from big bro to unk status, at least according to my little cousin. That's what he said. Now, at first I pushed back a little bit, and I was offended by the assertion that I was old enough to be unk. But after a little thought, y'all, I actually embraced the label of being unk and the responsibility which comes with being quote-unquote unk. See, as unk, I think it's my duty to look out for and support the youth and young cats coming up after me. Embrace the role as being a mentor and role model and aim to protect our kids at all costs. With the news cycle always seemingly being negative towards the youth, we need to take it back upon ourselves to change the narrative and uplift our youth. Our kids are so much more than fights, stolen cars, Kia boys, or acting a fool in public. We can't allow a small population of children to depict who our kids really are in the city of Milwaukee. You have to resist the urge to want to bash our kids and be so quick to pass judgment or disparage the youth. And we gotta stop acting as if we were not once in their shoes, making poor decisions, having regrets. I know we have all been there. Now, regardless of how funny it may sound to say YN, don't label our kids that. That is far from a term of endearment, and we have to remember you become what people call you. If someone calls you dumb over and over and over again, you may start believing that you are dumb, and you may start having self-doubt in oneself. Don't put that type of self-hating energy on our youth, Milwaukee. We need to call them YKs and YQs for young kings and young queens, even when they might frustrate you. Remember, they are still only kids. With the summer being here, there is no better time to encourage them to aspire to be great. Give them positive reinforcement. Give them positive affirmation until we get it through their minds on who they really are and what they can become. An unstoppable force of greatness.
Listen to Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace weekdays from noon to 1 p.m. It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
There is no comparison on the left, but there's no figure like a Charlie Kirk on the left, because fundamentally the left's revolution, now they have a weird, unusual, obscure path to it, but it's fairness and equality for everybody. It's black, immigrant, unionized factory worker, middle class, working family, trans. It's everybody. That's their revolution, to create a country where everybody can have the same opportunities regardless of your religion, your country of origin, your first language. That in America, and I want people to appreciate this, that's revolutionary. To get this country to treat everybody like an equal. We say it. It's written down somewhere in the Declaration of the Constitution, Dependence, 4th of July, September 30th, whatever. It's written down, it's everywhere, but it's never been fully realized. Now, some of you will say, oh, Sherwin, I treat people the way they treat me, and I respect everybody. Good. You're supposed to. You don't get credit for that. And we give credit to people for the wrong stuff. Sherwin, I don't know why the person always talks to me like that. Sherwin, well, Bernie Sanders marched with Dr. King in 1962. He was supposed to. Oh, well, Doesn't he get extra credit for that? He does not. That's a C grade. He gets a C minus marching with Dr. King. Do you know how easy it was to march with Dr. King? When you heard that he was in your city and you kind of knew the parade route, just park your car and just get in the back and just, I've walked for 2 blocks. I don't want to walk too far away from my car. You can literally say for the rest of your life, you know, Sherwin, I too marched with Dr. King. You weren't in the front holding his hand. Because remember, at the front of the line, they held hands. I marched with Dr. King. Millions of people did. If the procession was 5 city blocks long and you parked on 4th Street, joined the line on 5th Street, walked with the crowd singing, we shall, for 1 block. You sang half a verse of We Shall Overcome and then went back to your car. You can say for the rest of your life, you marched with Dr. King. So stop it. You weren't sending money to the movement and paying for Dr. King's hotel stays and paying for his security detail and helping to organize marches. And back then they did phone trees. Folks were not doing all that stuff. They were just, I marched with him. You're supposed to, and plus it was super easy, and it was the right thing to do. So on the left, and I'm going to look at the Union Army as the left, even though politically I'm crossing wires a little bit, because technically the Union Army was Republican, but you know the Southern strategy. Please don't make me get into that, because I'm just going to prompt a telephone call from someone that's going to say, oh, you know, sure, when it was the Democrats that were the slave owners and racists and the Jim Crow purveyors. Yes, they were, but then Richard Nixon said, hey, all you former, current Dixiecrats, Democrats that love separation and want to maintain Jim Crow, Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Texas Democrat, signed so much civil rights legislation into law that if you were a Southern Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, Dixiecrat, you were very mad at one of your own because Lyndon Johnson was a Southern country bumpkin, used the N-word all the time. But he did right by the country and signed that civil rights legislation into law. And when Richard Nixon ran in 1968, he said, look, I'm a Republican. Yes, I do have, roots in the Union Army. But if you come over here and join this new Republican Party, this is why Richard Nixon was so incredibly powerful. Richard Nixon, he made a plea to the South, because the South used to be totally blue, Democratic. He said, look, if you come over to the Republican Party, we will create a new form of subjugation, a new form of Jim Crow that will be even worse on black people than your old version of Jim Crow and separate bathrooms and water fountains. And the Southerners were like, really? We're listening. Richard Nixon said, we're going to have a war on drugs. And the Southerners were like, well, whatever do you mean? How can you have a war on a substance? Nixon was like, hold my beer. And therefore you had the former racist, segregationist, Dixiecrat Southerners flip to the Republican Party. So I had to give that disclaimer because somebody's always going to call, Sherwin, blah, 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 blah. The Democrats were the slaveholders. Consider the Union Army the modern form of Democrats. They had to actually kill people to get black people to have a semblance of equality. They literally had to shoot each other. So equality and fairness and having one country is a revolutionary act where people have been killed. But it's very, very different. That's why there's no equivalent to Charlie Kirk on the left, because the far left-wing revolutionaries want a country where everything is fair. In fact, the further you go left on the spectrum, you know what you get to? You go from moderate, then you start leaning into democratic socialism, then you start leaning into communism, and then you get to revolutionaries. Bottom line is they want everyone to be fair and equal. On the right, it is totally different. They use violence and intimidation and terror to keep things separate. public accommodations, schools, neighborhoods, churches, and they are willing to kill for that separation. They do not want inclusion. That is why you cannot have a similar figure on the left like you have on the right. The left is an old throwback to the Union, meaning if we kill, we are killing for the purposes of keeping the country together. On the right, when they use terror and murder and intimidation, they are doing so to keep things separate. The two political parties are fundamentally, diametrically, and completely and totally opposed to one another. Now, there is a way in which Democrats and Republicans can get along and create policies legislatively, but that's their job to do so. They're elected to do that. But the people, no. The people don't really have much obligation. The Southern Confederacy didn't have much obligation to work with the people in the North and the Union to create one nation. In fact, the Confederacy exists, and it still exists. If you see a Confederate monument, if somebody is still flying the stars and bars, let me be clear about the stars and bars. That's not the Confederate States of America flag. That's the battle flag. That's the flag that promoted and symbolized murdering people and lynching people. Okay, big difference. The stars and bars, because they'll say Sherwin, same person apparently, Sherwin, the stars and bars is about heritage. No, it's not. Most people don't even know what the Confederate States of America flag looks like. They had a flag for their government where Jefferson Davis was the president. They had a couple of different presidents. But it's different than the stars and bars. When you see the stars and bars, we'll shoot you and murder you and hang you if you want to integrate with us. So there is not going to be an equivalent. That is why the political parties are so far away from one another. I'm going to take a break, come back, have some details here about what your great president is doing. Donald Trump vows to dismantle the, quote, radical left groups in the wake of the Charlie Kirk killing. Donald Trump is now wanting to accuse, because he wants to extinguish the left. And it's interesting because, and I don't fault Trump, he wants to extinguish the left because they don't vote for him. They don't like him. They push back on him. Anyone who tries to hold him accountable, he calls them fake news, et cetera, et cetera. So he can't stand the left. But he wants to extinguish the left. He's going to use the power of the presidency and the executive branch of government to do so. They're using the RICO law. The RICO law was designed to take down the mob. Donald Trump is likening his political opposition to the mafia. Really dangerous, super unconstitutional. But he wants to take down the left like Lincoln should have taken down the Confederacy. We should have extinguished the Confederacy in this country like Germany did their level best to extinguish the Nazis. Do you think that they had statues of Adolf Hitler after World War II? You think they still flew the Nazi flag? They did not. They extinguished it. They wanted to get away from that completely. We do not want any semblances of the Nazi Germany. We are very embarrassed. Jewish people, we are so sorry. They even gave the Jewish people a few $2 billion, which I would say they invested wisely. They did. They invested their money very wisely. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
It's recognizing that there are people in the world that only have one word on their mind and heart when they become emotional and something happens to someone they like. They become irrational, they become fixated, and they do to others what they believe was done to them. The one thing everybody in America right now today, with the death of Charlie Kirk, the one thing they need to fear is retaliation.
Listen to The Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris every weekday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on 101.7 The Truth and The Truth app.
Talk to these people in terms of how do I register for this program despite my reservations and my previous experiences of rejection?
Yes, I tell anybody and everybody that you can buy a house. It may take somebody longer than the other person, depending on what your circumstances is with your credit and income and affordability, but you can purchase a house. The first step would be is to register for our program. You can come to our office, 7830 West Burleigh Street, or you can give us a call at 414-461-6330, or just go onto our website, hri-wi.org. Register for the first-time home buyer education workshop. That's going to be your first step to home ownership. During that class, you're going to learn everything that you need to know from A to Z, how to get approved for a house, how to look for a house and put an accepted offer, and how to close on a home.
The Humane Animal Welfare Society, HAWS, believes in keeping pets healthy and families together. No one should have to choose between rent and veterinary care. The Wellness Clinic at HAWS Animal Shelter in Waukesha offers important basics of dog and cat care to our community. Pet owners can schedule general exams, sick visits, receive vaccinations, even get preventatives and nail trims. Appointments are available weekdays and can be scheduled by calling 262-542-8852. Contact HAWS of Waukesha today for your pet's care.
Fall in Milwaukee, where the air is crisp, the drinks are cold, and the good times are just heating up. Stroll Milwaukee's lakefront and explore its parks as they burst into a kaleidoscope of golds, ambers, and reds. Raise a glass at a beer garden that feels like a neighborhood block party, Milwaukee style. And just as the temps fall, Brewers baseball is turning up the heat. October dreams are made right here. This season, every color, every cheer, every sip, it all comes together in Milwaukee. Craft your perfect getaway at visitmilwaukee.org.
At Gruber Law Offices, we've helped tens of thousands of families after a serious accident. Our priority has always been our clients. We're here for you whenever you may need us. One call, that's all.
When you're high, you feel different. Pretty obvious, right? You think different, talk different, but if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
My mother just sent me a picture of her riding around on an iced out golf cart with candy paint. What is happening? She's going to visit my aunt in Memphis. What is she doing on an iced out golf cart? It's very nice, actually. I posted it on my social media. Somebody please go get my mama, please. What the hell is going on in the world? Following the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, U.S. President Donald Trump and some of his key allies are floating plans to shut down left-wing organizations that they say encourage political violence. I'm going to refute all of this in hour two. I just want to set a foundation here to illustrate how the president is doing the old switcheroo. Even though it's hard to pinpoint the true political affiliation of, I think his name is Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk assassin, he shifted his political views. He just didn't like Charlie Kirk, obviously. But to say that he was some extension of the left, let me be real clear. I've been a part of the left side of the political spectrum my entire adult life. The left can't put together a violent revolution if they tried. We can't. There's too many women. Too many women that would talk us out of it. Be a bunch of dudes like, yeah, let's burn this stuff down. I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe we should have a potluck first. There's not. The most violent the left can get is they'll dox you and they'll cancel you. Can I say that answer on the air? Yes, I have, Andrew. He asked me if I've ever met a mean lesbian. Tons. They're called studs. There's a bunch of them. But even studs don't have guns. The most a stud will have is like brass knuckles. You know what I mean? She's like, hey, I'm ready for war today. She'll have like one boxing glove in her trunk. But the left is not. Now, there have been incidents of, isolated incidents of somebody who is ultra revolutionary, I suppose. There's a black nationalist movement, which I guess was an extension of the left. But no, they're not. The right has evolved to be politically violent. It's never left their lexicon. It's always been in the toolbox. For a while, the left just wanted to register people to vote, to get more people engaged, to get more people to become citizens, to be more fair to union workers. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the left put its energy. The right has always maintained its militias. Always. The left ain't got no militias. Most Democrats don't even like guns. Now, they have them. They don't know how to use them. They have them. They'll lock the... Here's what they'll do. They'll get a gun because, I don't know, somebody told them they needed one. Their grandfather told them they needed one. The left will have a pistol, maybe a 9mm, maybe a 45, right? It'll be in the attic, in a closet, in a lockbox that can only be opened with a fingerprint and a key in a closet that's double locked and deadbolted in the attic. And not one of those attics where you walk up the stairs, one of those attics where you got to pull the string from the ceiling and the stairs fold out. One of those. That's where the left keeps their guns. The left doesn't have militias. Every so often you'll see these news stories of these right-wing militias that are playing war games out in the woods. They're wearing camouflage and stuff. You saw a lot of that stuff on January 6th. January 6th was more than a dress rehearsal. It was them putting all of their militia practice into action on behalf of their president. Donald Trump is the leader of the Confederacy. Now, the Confederacy is back in the White House because we never extinguished it as a nation. We allowed them to exist and persist under the guise of free speech. But their free speech is terrorism. But we didn't recognize domestic terrorism until after September 11th. We should have recognized and extinguished. We needed a Patriot Act in 1866. We didn't get it until 2001. And when we got it in 2001, I would say that was under very suspicious circumstances. So during hour two, I'm going to illustrate and demonstrate to you that terror comes from the right. Andrew, you look like you got something to say.
Well, I'm just saying, rock the vote didn't work, Sherwin. You're telling me that the get out to vote didn't work?
No. I mean, rock the vote came here. That was 2004 when I was working on a presidential campaign, and we brought a lot of hip-hop celebrities to Milwaukee because Wisconsin was starting to realize its battleground status, and we had a ton of money. The Democrats dumped so much money in Wisconsin. I was making this is in 2004. I was a constituency director for the Kerry Edwards campaign, and I was making $5,000 a month 20 years ago. That was money. And they gave us health insurance to work on a presidential campaign. So Sherwin put together of influential African Americans that you want to come to Milwaukee. So I was like, well, Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, he came. I was like, DMC from Run DMC, he came. Chuck D from Public Enemy, he came. And then they brought Al Sharpton, and then they brought Alfie Woodard, who's an actress, and a whole bunch of other folks. But they had so much money. But yeah, so Wisconsin was blue in 2004, but the rest of the country reelected George W. Bush. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be back for hour two.
Come in with straight truth.
And to make matters even worse, Truth Nation, when you look at more numbers, there have been 59 children shot in the city of Milwaukee, and 40 of the perpetrators were also under 18. They were children. So you have almost 60 young folks here. If you go to a private school, some schools only got 60 kids in elementary school, but you're talking about maybe 3 classrooms in a middle school or elementary school worth of kids who have been shot in our city this year, but 40 of them who perpetrated the act were also children. So you're talking about 100 kids who are ruining their lives in the city of Milwaukee in 8 months. We have to be better, because when you look at the overall murder rate in the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee makes up about 50% of the total murders in the whole state of Wisconsin. But seeing young folks getting killed and young folks shooting guns is extremely troubling and puzzling to me. It should be puzzling to you as well. It's a troubling reality that we have to face in our community.
Watch all your favorite 101.7 The Truth shows by subscribing to 101.7 The Truth on YouTube.
The biggest snowflakes out here are always been the white Republicans, who are so gung-ho on protecting the feelings of white kids while they ignore the needs of other kids. If Milwaukee's youth has a problem with fighting what white youth have a problem with being destructive and offensive. So it is sad that our government is actively working to de-emphasize educating and uplifting students of color in different backgrounds on college campuses. That emphasis is going to be diminished, and the only kids that will suffer will be our kids. They were willing to hold up the advancement of the state of Wisconsin because they disagree with DEI. What are white Republicans afraid of? Why are they afraid to face the fact that their grandmas and grandpapas were part of a system which purposely held black folks back and failed to give us the access that we deserve? Until these politicians stop ignoring these egregious acts of hate and racial incidents, America can never be great again.
Catch Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace every weekday from noon to 1 p.m. on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app.
Dad's gonna be far side, good.
What should I do with my dress?
Do the wiggles.
The slate's coming in. What does it feel like when you're down or having a bad day?
It feels sad, like you just don't want to do anything.
All my little emotions in my head is just running crazy. I don't know what to do.
As a teacher or coach, do you ever feel overwhelmed supporting kids' mental health?
I had never experienced players being so down that they can't even participate.
He's just in tears in the huddle. I didn't know what to do.
Teachers need tons of help.
Kids Mental Health Foundation offers educational materials to help guide conversations with our students.
It's so important that we are constantly educating ourselves.
It's the same as the CPR class to me. We're trying to save a life here.
The Kids Mental Health Foundation has free tools and information developed by experts because kids' mental health starts with all of us. Scan the QR code or check out kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org to get started.
All of your favorite 1017 The Truth content whenever you want. The Truth app has it all. The Truth is on 1017 and 1510 WGKB Waukesha, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth with Sherwin Hughes. So Trump wants to dismantle left-wing groups like, I don't know, Emily's List, organized labor unions that contribute to Democratic candidates, because he wants to, if you paint the picture that your political opposition is the enemy, then maybe, just maybe, voters in this country will see Democrats as not just an opposing political party, but a threat to their safety and their security. That's what they want to do. Just like real estate speculators in the city of Milwaukee wanted Caucasian homeowners to think that working class African Americans that made the same money as them, that worked at the same factory jobs as them, were actually the threat, so they could take advantage of those white homeowners buying more real estate somewhere else in a segregated neighborhood. Let's talk to Bob, shall we? Bob, can you stay on task, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hello, Sherwin. I'm just wondering what's going to happen with our military. It's no left and right died for this country. Now, ain't no left going to have no commander-in-chief that talks about them like a dog. It's going to be right wings joining the army. Totally right wings, mostly. And we're 85% or 80% or 90% of the left. Don't nobody want no common commander-in-chief that dogs them out. That man needs to be impeached. Boy, if he can be impeached during this next term, boy, see, a president, he should be for all the people, even though he's leaning to a Democrat or Republican. When he's president, and that man talks about the left like a dog, that man really needs to be impeached.
He was impeached twice, Bob, during his first term, and he got reelected. Impeachment doesn't mean anything. Bill Clinton was impeached and became a rock star and raised $1 billion for Democrats. Impeachment don't do nothing. Impeachment is a minor annoyance for like 2 weeks.
I know, but he needs to really be impeached.
Really impeach him. You want him removed from office. That's almost impossible, because it would take 67 senators to vote to remove him, and I think 51 or 52 senators are Republicans. So all the Democrats plus 10 or 15 Republican senators would have to vote to remove Donald Trump. You can't even get a single Republican senator to even disagree with Donald Trump on anything. So while I see your point, it's an impossibility. The only people that can force the impeachment of Donald Trump or curtail his worst impulses is people getting out and voting in the midterm elections in 2026 and voting Democrat up and down the ticket. And we're not going to do that as a nation, so Donald Trump is still going to continue his reign of terror. Oh, yeah, kind of. Now, the Democrats are going to do what they're going to do okay. I think that they're going to make some gains, but it won't be enough to remove Trump from office. There's just going to be a lot of fighting and a lot of government shutdowns is what's going to happen after 2026. A lot of arguing. A little bit more political violence probably.
He could get out on the 26th. I'm telling you that. I mean, he is ridiculous, man.
Bob, you've been around for a long time. Thank you. Appreciate your call. So, and I don't want to be pessimistic because, Bob is an eternal optimist. But what I'm seeing, and Bob is older than me by a whole adult life and then some, America is incredibly predictable. There's not, in our politics, you see it coming. This country follows a couple of just really common, regular, predictable themes. And to think that, oh no, the country's going to finally wake up. Nah. It's going to continue like this for the foreseeable future. And I know that because if people thought the first term was bad, I think they wanted to see if it could get better than his first term, but they were willing for it to get worse. It was a risk that they took. Right? Let's say you dated somebody new because they were exciting and they were different. They were from across the tracks and you wanted something new and you wanted to rebel against your parents and you started dating Trump. And he immediately started punching you in your face. And you break up. You go back to somebody well-known and safe. You get back with one of your boring, sleepy exes where y'all didn't do nothing but watch Netflix and then that ex just played video games, but they were safe. Boring as hell, okay? You went to bed at 9 o'clock every night. Fanciest restaurant you went to was the George Webb's, but they were safe. Joe Biden was us going back to an ex that was very safe, but we got bored. Joe Biden wasn't hitting it like he was supposed to. We got bored, and we said, you know what? I had more fun with my toxic ex, Donald Trump. Maybe he's changed. Maybe. I'm just so bored with Joe Biden. He's boring. He falls asleep at 9 o'clock, and he eats tapioca pudding. So we went back to Trump, and guess what? Trump didn't get better. He got worse. Now we're getting punched in our face again. But it was worth it for the excitement, right? Following the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, this article appears in the Canadian Broadcast Corporation's website. U.S. President Donald Trump and some of his key allies are floating plans to shut down left-wing organizations that they say encourage political violence. The warnings from Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and other prominent White House figures prompting concern that the administration may use Kirk's killing as a pretext to muzzle legitimate, nonviolent political opposition coming from the Democrats. The promises to crack down on what Trump calls the, quote, radical left groups began within hours of the shooting last Wednesday, well before authorities had identified suspect Tyler Robinson. Investigators have yet to allege a definitive motive. Did you know that? So the first dude that they arrested an old white dude. You remember that? So before they knew who Tyler Robinson was, they arrested this old white dude because they said, oh, we got a suspect in custody, but then they let him go. Do you know why they arrested that older white dude? It's like 70-something years old. You know why they arrested him? So Charlie Kirk gets shot. The old white dude starts yelling in the crowd. There's video of this. I did it. I shot him. The old white dude didn't have a gun, none of that. He started yelling that he shot Charlie Kirk. So the authorities that were there took down this old white dude and they arrested him and took him into custody. He did that so that the shooter could get away. Ain't that the wildest thing ever? The way that Donald Trump is using this incident, so it's going to impact our politics. It is. That's why I continue to talk about it, because I want people to be fully versed and not be shocked by anything that comes next, including Donald Trump's announcement that he wants to use federal laws to take down his political opposition, which are like pro-choice groups or whatever, because he thinks, oh, that's the radical left. A bunch of people that support abortion are not shooting. It's anti-abortion people that bomb clinics, when you think about it. So the way Trump is using this moment to attack his political opposition is very similar to, follow me here, but I'm gonna use an American theme that I want people to be more familiar with, because please stop being under an illusion about your country. There's the America that we want and that we fantasize about. Then there's the America that is. It's like in our mind, we envision the perfect partner, and we want the partner that we have to be the perfect partner that we envision in our minds, but that's not the case. We don't have the perfect partner that we envision in our minds. Our partner is a slob that burps, farts, and smells bad. Then they don't clean up after themselves. I mean, they can be nice sometimes, but they're not ideal, but that's who we have. Like, America is the burping and the farting and the grossness. It's not the ideal partner. In our minds, America could be this really perfect place. Problem is, depending upon your political viewpoint, your idea of a perfect America is different than someone with the opposite political viewpoint. To some people, a perfect America is everybody loving on everybody, and the gays and the straights and the trans are all eating snow cones together with no shoes on. For the right, it's white people are here owning, controlling things and doing all of the things, and we're all the scientists and all of the professors and all of the doctors and the lawyers, and the black people are just somewhere else on a colony. So they have their ideal, we have our ideal, and we are very, very far apart. The best we can hope for is that we all can get along and be respectful when we see each other at Whole Foods. You know, I think that's the best we can hope for. But so here's the eerily familiar theme. Donald Trump has taken advantage of the Charlie Kirk killing to use federal law to extinguish his political opposition so that he can remain in power for longer than constitutional. Like George Bush took advantage of September 11th to support the Patriot Act that allows warrantless wiretaps and for the federal government to spy on us through our devices and GPS in cars and on our cell phones and being able to look at our financial transactions. Because in those moments of great tragedy, and September 11th was a great tragedy, the American people will willingly surrender some of our security and some of our liberty because we're afraid. Or we want increased security, but we'll surrender our liberty because we thought, oh no, terrorists are going to come and fly planes into buildings a lot. George Bush and his administration and Karl Rove and Dick Cheney took advantage of the American people's desire for increased security by taking away some of our liberties and some of our constitutional rights to privacy. And some of those things still exist to this day. And every president after that has always reauthorized the National Defense Authorization Act. Let's talk to Brian. You're on 101.7 The Truth. Turn your radio down, Brian. Turn it off. Whatever that noise is, whoever that person is, turn them down too.
You need your own house for this.
What is that?
Dude.
Brian, why are you yelling to somebody?
Okay, I got it.
Brian, what the hell is happening? Why does this only happen on my show?
You landscape.
Huh?
You don't know who I am. You don't know what I do. Let's get that straight. Let's get that straight. You don't know who I am, and you don't know what I do.
They beefing.
And I don't like the fuck that you want.
Did he say the F word? Oh, I was getting into that beef. For those of you that listen to a lot of truth programs, does that happen on other shows where people are handling their affairs out in the world, and we answer their call, and they don't pay attention to the radio station they call. They're still handling their affairs. I kind of want him to call back because now I need to know what that was about. That sounded like he was about to get politically violent. Zach is here now producing. I mean, we were playing musical chairs with the producer. There you go. Zach is here. Zach, what you eating on, dog? What is that? You eating on some snacks?
A McGriddle.
Ooh, wee. That's
My
what
friend Juice put me on to these.
The McGriddle, they soak the little biscuit bread in the syrups.
That's, you see? Look, yup.
It's like a pancake. Oh, it's Brian. Oh, no, this is Security Mike. Security Mike, you're on 1017 The Truth. How are you? Oh, now he
I'm through there right now.
Huh?
Oh, this Sherwin?
Who did you call, man?
Okay, well, I didn't know I was getting through this fast.
Oh, yeah, you were expecting the producer to answer. No, sometimes I get when I see who it is on my caller ID, sometimes I answer the phone directly. So, hello, Security Mike, how are you doing?
Well, let me turn this down in the truck. Oh, yeah, but it sounds like that last caller was, him and dude was finna get into it or something. He had a gas station or somewhere.
You don't know what I do. That was some serious beef.
Right. That was getting heated, man. He might be throwing down. But hey, these people voted. The country mainly voted because they want to see how worse things can get for us and the Latino people. And they're actually going to see, and it's actually going to get worse for them as well. Because 10 of those red states, they're having hard times too. I mean, he's not doing nothing for the economy. Actually, the economy is getting worse from what I'm hearing. And now with the killing of the guy Kirk, Charlie Kirk, the hatred stuff is even going to be more amplified now. I went up there with Tory Lowe a couple of weeks ago, and we had our signs and everything pushing for the hate crime and stuff like that. And like B. Irony Mar says, that the guy we got in charge, it's going to be hard with this administration to get hate crime law or anything passed for this. With them about to throw that kid in the meat grinder where they beat him up and everything. But they screwing the N-word. They're the ones that started the fight. But they were going to try to deflect and say the young brother started everything. But whoever called him out his name and screwed the N-word, they actually started it. But this is crazy, man. I don't think it's going to change, and I don't think it's going to be a way that Trump going to be up out of there. I think this is going to be the new norm, man, and this is sad. This is going to be the new norm, because they're going to try to see how bad it could get for us as a person. Serious, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate your call, Security Mike. There is a tolerance in hardcore, red, rural, really super poor. I'm talking about don't even have paved roads, barely have any infrastructure, like really small southern towns. Like, those shotgun houses that are built on cinder blocks that have those rusty tin roofs. It's interesting because in the South, black people and white people live in close proximity. They want to keep you close, watch you, make sure you don't get too big. In the North, it's different. They want to live away from us and don't care how big and successful we get, right? In the South, I want people to understand that fundamental difference, too, between race relations in the North and the South, especially in the upper Midwest, because black people are relatively new up here. We haven't really been up here in mass. When I say in mass, exerting professional, corporate, and political power in the North for just like maybe 80 or 90 years at the most since World War II. So we're relatively new up here. So up here, white folks don't care. They want black people. Here's what's crazy. In the North, they want you blacks to be successful and be able to take care of your families and be rich, but just live somewhere else. Don't live near me. Don't bring your kids to my kids' school. But, oh, no, we want you to have the best, but just have the best over there. In the South, black folks and white folks live right next door to each other. They don't care about the proximity, but they don't want us to get too big and too successful. Real fundamental differences. But in the in the poverty-entrenched rural South, the white folks that get government assistance, that get SNAP benefits, that are going to get cut because Trump is cutting them for everybody, including white people that voted for him. This is what I find so fascinating about the white rural South. Deep in the throes of poverty, quite honestly, they have not had reinvigorated industry since the ending of the Civil War. Like, there are parts of the South that have been generationally poor, centuries poor. They're hardened by it. They don't care if whatever benefits I shouldn't say I don't care. They'll find a way, or they'll withstand it as best they can. A lot of times they turn to drugs, but it is what it is. But the amount of pain and economic pain and hardship that a white Southerner is built to tolerate so that black people also feel that same pain is the stuff of legend. Because you wonder, like, their benefits are getting cut too. Their infrastructure is not getting rebuilt. Their schools are not really invested in, especially if you live in a southern state where all of your representatives are Republicans and they don't tax you because Republicans always want to cut taxes. Well, taxes invest in things like infrastructure and education, et cetera. And so these white Southerners are so hell-bent on punishing black people to make sure that we don't get the tools and the investment and the resources to be successful. They are willing to suffer too, because they have this innate hope that if they suffer through all this poverty, because, they got God on their side too. They're deeply religious people. And I also think that it keeps them indoctrinated into just living in this inhumane poverty because they think the South is going to rise again. But if they just tolerate it long enough, and Trump came as their savior. While you decide for that, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Need a way to hype up your day?
Hey, is this Carolyn?
It is.
Congratulations, Carolyn. You just won this.
Congratulations. Woo! God is good all the time.
What would you do with $5,000?
I'm going to buy my nieces some school clothes because my nephew just passed away.
Oh.
So I'm going to get them some clothes.
Stay tuned into 101.7 The Truth for your chance to be entered into the Gruber Law Office's 5K giveaway. For contest rules, visit 1017thetruth.com.
Tracy, going back to the process, and as it relates specifically to the partnership that Old National Bank has with Housing Resource, what does the process consist of when coming through this program?
It's a referral process. We work with clients that first-time homeowners that may not have the counseling that they need. They may not have the equity, the down payment that they need. So we refer them to our partners like HRI or Housing Resources, Inc., because we recognize that those organizations, they have the resources, they have the tutorial documentation and all of those things that are necessary for first-time homeowners that don't know the process, may not know the system, may not know what's required for home ownership. So working with Housing Resources, Inc. and other partnerships that we have like through WIDA has been very, very advantageous, not only for us, but also the organizations, but also for the community.
School's back in session. Kids have their backpacks, school supplies, and new clothes. But are you ready as a parent? Families are the single most important factor in a child's academic success. This year, get to know your child's teachers. Stay engaged with their learning. Don't be shy about asking questions along the way. Because as a parent, you are your child's first and most important teacher. Learn more about how City Forward Collective is helping families, students, and schools thrive at cityforwardcollective.org.
Here's a dose of reality. Driving under the influence of prescription painkillers is just as illegal and just as deadly as driving drunk. In fact, there are nearly 2,000 drug-related crashes every year in Wisconsin. Help prevent drug to driving, and let's achieve 0 preventable deaths on Wisconsin roadways. Driving on pills kills. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Departments of Health Services, Transportation, and Justice.
Hi, I'm Brittany Miller from Big Frog Custom T-Shirts and more. Custom T-shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, you name it, we can do it. Big Frog Custom T-Shirts and more is family owned and all about celebrating life's big moments. Maybe it's a milestone birthday, a celebration for your child's first goal, or that work fundraising event. We are everyone's printer. No minimum orders, affordable designs, and help straight from me and our team. We're the one-stop shop for all your custom needs. Start your project today at bigfrog.com/Mequon.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I started the program today wondering, like, what was the appeal of Charlie Kirk? So he was the figurehead and the intellectual academic backdrop for the right and recruiting younger people going on college campuses. And the way Charlie articulated is rare. It really is, to have a charismatic figure that just had such an intellectual command over right-wing issues. But also he was so symbolic because he was a Christian. He talked openly, Jesus Christ saved my life. And he made my life better when I turned my life over to him. Like, the right loves that. They love it. And so there was some argument about this. I said that, he's a handsome guy. He had a beautiful wife. He had 2 beautiful children. And people are like, oh, Sherwin, he's not handsome. Considering how they promoted him, he was just a clean-cut looking, boring-looking fella. And, here's what's interesting. The white women that are on birth control, because of the hormonal shifts, the men they're attracted to are much more akin to be providers and not people that they are sexually attracted to. So a woman not on birth control whose hormones are natural are more attracted to her genetic opposites to produce offspring that will be the most viable. But when a woman is on birth control, her sexual desires are subconsciously and hormonally muted so that the man that she's attracted to looks more like her brother because he'll be able to protect her and provide for her when she has children. It's crazy, y'all. It is. Go study that. I hate to admit how much research I've done on the impact of birth control on women's hormones and sexual preferences, but it's fields of research on it. So for a lot of Caucasian women, Charlie Kirk was he was that ideal. Not necessarily for us and our women, but for them. And he was useful in the movement because he provided really strong intellectual and academic explanations, and he would just debate people and he would win, making him and his conservative movement that he promoted look stronger than anything the Democrats could ever muster. And the Democrats don't have a single figure. When your political issues are narrow, deep but narrow, it's easy to have one person to be your figurehead. That's why Donald Trump works so well, because he can encompass the deep yet narrow political proclivities of the right. For every part of the right, the pro-business right that's a little bit more moderate socially, and even the hardcore reactionary right that wants to separate the country into two. The left can't do that because it's too damn diverse. You can't have a single person, especially if black people are the most loyal voting bloc the Democrats have. We don't get along with everybody. Have y'all noticed that the black people, we only like people that we think can be useful to us? That's why we invite certain white people to the barbecue, because we think that they'll be useful in the struggle. And when I say useful, I want you to hear me on this, because a lot of white folks don't get it. We think that if we can relate to you in some kind of way, or if you've shown some kind of support for us and our causes, that you will go and influence other white people at barbecues that we're not invited to. We'll invite you to our barbecue because we want you to see how beautiful we live and the harmony that we live and the freeness of our spirit. And we hope that you go and run and tell that. Go tell that on the mountain so you can influence other white people. That's the only reason why you come to the barbecue. We don't want you there that bad. You're there for utility. Now, we tell you, like, oh, this white person is cool. They invited to the barbecue. So you can see that we are peace-loving, fun-loving, incredible people that have beautiful families, and we have tight-knit communities, because in a segregated society, white folks aren't exposed to that. White folks know so little about us. It's crazy. We know everything about y'all. We know more about you than you know about you, because we were taught about you. We studied you. I couldn't get out of high school unless I knew white people, academically. I had to know your history. I had to know white people, why they got mad at each other, why they came over to America. The Irish ran out of potatoes, and they came over to America because they had an Irish potato famine. Ain't that crazy? I mean, potatoes are good, but I ain't leaving home for them. You know what I'm saying? White people in Ireland, they're no, we got to get more potatoes. Wherever should we go? I'm thinking to myself, go to Whole Foods. No, let's go to America. They brought leprechauns with them and bags of gold. So I had to know. We all did. We had to know a lot about white people in order to graduate from high school. Now, I didn't learn about black people. I didn't have like Afrocentric academic instruction until I paid tuition, which is so unfair. Like I had to pay to learn about me, but it was worth it. But no, we had to learn about all white people and royal people, or royal family. All them royal families are all inbred. They all humped each other's cousins and brothers and sisters. So gross. Yeah. That's so nasty. But we had to learn about y'all. So we have kept an understanding of who white people are throughout our history. Can I give you an example without getting myself fired? I've been getting in a lot of trouble lately, so maybe I shouldn't. Oh, I don't know what to do because I don't know what gets me in. I've been in the principal's office. So it was damn near dying on air, hospital, principal's office. It has been my life in the last. But also think because I had that health scare, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Once you almost die at work, you're just like, screw it. You know what I mean? Black people in this city didn't ask for 1017 The Truth. We did not. It was not on the list of things that we wanted and that we needed to be successful, to be productive, to be self-sufficient. A radio station was not one of them. A black radio station is only as good as its ability to provide information to black people so we can have the lives that we deserve. Do you understand that? We also didn't ask for a black president when we got Barack Obama, but to the extent a black president can help black people in a way that previous presidents couldn't, a black president was useful. A black radio station was not anything that we was asking for. We got it, but it's only as good as its ability to convey information and demystify politics and help us understand money and investing and all of those things that can lead us to the better life that we deserve. All the information that has been withheld from black people in our course of academic study, we want black radio to provide that because that information leads us to a better life. But having a black radio station, we've already had black radio stations. In fact, it was an area that had existed in the city. And that's the difference between black radio. It is to provide information that black people are not given because they want to keep us academically dim, because if black people get information, we will rule the world. That's why as time has evolved, a lot of African-American artists, they own their own masters. They're independent contractors. They have independent labels, rather, where before we just worked for somebody else. We let somebody else create the deal for us, and we signed our deal with somebody else. We were colonized that way, but as we go on and get more information and get more legally savvy, we do better. That's the purpose of black radio. It ain't just a bunch of black folks sitting around a slave cabin listening to we gonna listen at the radio today. We gonna, oh yeah. No. We need information that's going to help us build a better life, and I want everyone to understand that. I'm trying to help you all here now. We weren't asking for a radio station, but to the extent the radio station can provide information that we are missing that nobody else tells us. That's why we interview subject matter experts that can provide information that can better our community, because y'all hate when black folks don't have a job and we're on welfare. Well, we need information. We need to, have strategies where we can create a better life for ourselves, and radio serves that purpose. I don't know what white talk radio does. It encourages more hate for black people. What's the point of it? White folks have so much media. They have too much, and it's driving them crazy. They got so much media that their media is politically flavored. Our media is just like, hey, black people, there's a job fair. Hey, black people, did you know that you qualify for this? Hey, black people, did you know X, Y, and Z has scholarships for your kids? Hey, black people, did you know that we're having a community event and we're giving out backpacks for the kids? White folks don't need that. I don't even know what white radio even does. What is it, play oldies? They don't need that information because they are fortified through their schools. They get everything they need to become successful by the time they graduate from high school. And the only reason why they took the trades out of some of these schools is because more black kids were going to some of those public schools. Did you know that? Go back 50 and 60 years. You could be a damn welder at 18 years old and get a job as a welder or a carpenter. We had all these specialties and all these trades. Milwaukee Tech. It was a technical trade high school. But when more and more black kids started going to tech, they said, I better take the trades out. Just give them more testing. That was on purpose. Black radio fills a void of information that our lackluster education system misses. Why do you think so many black kids can't read? They're not teaching us how to read in school. If anything, they're trying to instill discipline in us so we can be either good inmates or good factory workers. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Hey, Drew and Jonathan Scott here. Build a customized renter's policy with American Family Insurance so you can protect your tandem bike on the go. Thief! Oh, he is struggling with that two-seater. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Some exclusions may apply. Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies. 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Friday Night Lights now officially lives here. 101.7 The Truth is the proud home of Marquette Hilltoppers football. Tune in Friday night as the Hilltoppers travel to take on the Oconomowoc Raccoons. Join our coverage starting at 6:30 p.m., leading up to kickoff at 7 p.m. Marquette Hilltoppers football is presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. And sponsored by Left's Lucky Town, C.G. Schmidt, Capital Insurance Agency, Boyle Fredrickson, Annex Wealth Management, Magic Productions, and Burghardt Sporting Goods.
What's poppin', Truth Nation? It's your girl Noni Juice with Ashley Lucas from Associated Bank, and this is Making Your Money Work. There's a lot we actually have to get into, okay? And one of the main things that I feel like people aren't really talking about a lot are tariffs.
Oof.
Yes, tariffs is a big one, and I think people need to know how tariffs could actually potentially impact small business clients. So how does it impact them?
Yeah, it's something that we're talking about at Associated Bank quite a bit with our business clients. We call it the big T word because it's kind of scary, but it's something that I think small businesses really do need to proactively discuss to make sure they're prepared. And something to remember is the economy changes all the time. Businesses withstand changes in the economy. So purchasing will change, right? Pricing may change depending on if they're buying outside of the United States, but maybe even within the United States. So if you have a retail store, it could potentially mean that the price of the goods that they're purchasing for their store may go up. And sometimes product may take longer. So if people start switching where they're buying from, it might take longer to get. So those are some things that if you're a business owner right now, you should be discussing with your bank or with peers or with a subject matter expert to just make sure you're prepared if it does change your business.
So how can small business owners prepare for this whole tariff situation?
So some things we always talk about with small business owners is you always want to prepare for the unexpected. And the truth is right now we don't have all the answers, right? We are learning, banks are learning, subject matter experts are learning right alongside business owners. There's a couple things you can do. One, reach out to your financial institution and ask what they know. Right now, we are getting research. We're talking to economic experts to make sure that we have the appropriate information to give to business owners.
This has been Making Your Money Work, brought to you by Associated Bank.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
In a video address, Trump said his administration will, quote, find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund and support it. Friday, Trump repeated the threat in an interview on Fox News and called for a racketeering investigation into George Soros, claiming without evidence that the 95-year-old billionaire philanthropist funds professional agitators. Also on Friday, Stephen Miller, one of Trump's key advisors, also pledged a crackdown, crediting what he says was the last message he received from Kirk. Quote, he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. On Monday, quote, we're going to go after the non-governmental organization networks that foment, facilitates, and engages in violence, said J.D. Vance while hosting a podcast tribute to Charlie Kirk from the White House. So they're using really one of their own that got disaffected with Charlie Kirk. They're using that as a way to weaponize the power of the federal government to go after Donald Trump's political opposition. It has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk's killing, but it does give this entryway for Donald Trump to go after, like politically and legally go after his opposition, which is totally unconstitutional. Let's talk to Alan. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Sherwin?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
I'm coming back. I was downtown. I was actually at City Hall. I was going to stop down and just wave to you, but it was so dang hot. I had to park over there by Cathedral Square, and by the time I got to the car, I was like, I'm just going to go home. I had to go find this movie for my wife. And anyway, I was listening to you. I got to say this, man. You nailed the Irish accent. You nailed it. I was cracking up. Driving down King Drive, then it becomes over there. I was going to stop to get see if they had ice cream, but it wasn't Checkers. It's that other place, Friar's Chicken. Is that place any good over there? Do you know?
No, I don't know about no damn Friar's Chicken, man. Why you asking me that? Because I'm black? You asking me about Friar's Chicken?
Maybe you went by there and had it. Shit, I don't care about you being black. I like you, man. So I was downtown, and I met a few people at the elections office. The woman came out. She said, "Oh, Mr. Beckman, it's so nice to meet you." And we had a great chat. And they actually kind of like what I'm doing, I think, here for trying to help the community. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I would never call and complain about nothing that you say. You're hilarious. Can I ask you a question? Do you do this? You don't do prep, do you? This is like off the top of your head, this stuff, correct?
No, I do a lot of prep. At least 2 hours.
But you could not sit there for your... Okay, but but for when you're talking your stream of consciousness stuff, you might have an idea, but it is. I mean, you're good. I don't mean that in any bad way. You are
Thank
phenomenal.
you, Alan. So I have my ideas and my thoughts, but sometimes my ideas and my thoughts are not. They're not like scientific and statistically provable. So I got to find articles that match what I think. And sometimes I reform what I think. Sometimes I'm spot on. And then I'll go back and forth between like my soliloquies and then quoting an article because I find actual journalism that matches my sentiment. So I don't just say, some hosts just say stuff now. I say stuff, but it's also backed up and fortified by a journalist.
You are very, very good at this. And your Ross is really good. I don't agree with her ever. Is that the woman that used to be on? I can't think of her name now. God darn it! But she is really good.
The woman? A woman here?
Yeah.
Denise?
Yeah. Yeah, Denise Thomas, DT, right? With Kelly.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. I mean, I would love, the thing with me is I'm out of practice, so I come out of character. She holds her composure. Debating her would be a treat because she is really, really, really good. Anyway, I'm trying to stick on point. I wanted to give you a couple of kudos. So your stuff is hilarious. I mean, I listen to, I'm going to say something. I'm a conservative, as you know, and I listen to this WISN. Them guys are not real at all. They're a bunch of jokers, man. And you bury them every day. Everything you do is better than the guy in there right now, O'Donnell. I called him one time a shanty Irishman to his face. Oh, my. Fake. All day fake. So when you talk about them guys, you're absolutely right. They don't do nothing to help. And I tried to talk to him about what's going on with us over here, in our Thurston Woods.
Which
and the
host?
guy just ignored us.
Which one? Which host? What show was it?
Dan O'Donnell. And the other guy, he just was slob. We were going to go on a cruise
Jay
just
Weber?
so I could harass the guy. Yeah, he makes me sick. Pretend conservative all day. Pretend. pretend. You don't. I might not agree with you all the time, but even when I don't agree with you, you crack me up, man. I'm like, damn, this guy makes a lot of sense, and you do make me think. But what you do better than anyone is you can maybe better than anyone except me. But what you can do, and that's not a compliment, but what you do is you think on your feet and you take these issues that you were making. When one day you were doing you were pretending to be like a white conservative, and I knew you were faking it, but you nailed it so you had everything nailed. It was just pitch perfect, like you're just singing pitch perfect. So that's all I can tell you. I think sometimes you might think I'm pulling your leg or something, but I'm not. There ain't too many choices on the radio at all.
Thank you, Ed.
And after this, I turn it off. I turn on Accu Radio and I stream Grateful Dead music or something.
All right.
But you might be seeing something. Maybe if I do this right, I think we might be on the. We might end up being on the news if this goes the way I want it to. So we're going to wait and see.
Keep us posted. I got to go, though. All right. Thank you.
God bless you, man.
All right, then, Alan. That was a compliment coming from somebody who is as Trump-loving as he is, that can appreciate what we do here. I just wish more people understood it. You know what the problem is? You got to listen to my program differently than you listen to others, because I am designed to make you think. Some people aren't receptive to being challenged intellectually. I'm going to try and make sense. If you can get over your subjectivity and how you may feel about me or how you may feel about parties or the political party I subscribe to writ large, and just listen to what I'm saying. The political parties and politics is secondary. I talk about the impact of race, and I try and pierce through ignorance. And I use humor. Humor works. Right? I was like, oh, you're so funny. See, don't let them little giggles get to you, because that humor works now. Zach, you know the humor will get you anything you want to get in this life. It gets you some panties. You know what I mean? It'll get
Bust it open. Get you some.
You know what I mean? That's how you get them. You make them laugh. They say you make somebody laugh, you can make them do anything. Now go vote for the right people then, since you want to key and laugh. Go vote in November, but do it the right way. I'm going to take a break, come back, and talk to Linda on the other side. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
From the biggest stars to the greatest moments, Behind the Bucks is Bucks history like you've never heard it before. It's all on Behind the Bucks on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the new ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
It's 1017 The Truth's Dr. Ken Harris for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. When a customer chooses Pella, one of the most important things to them is honoring that trust and commitment. A lot of customers might have apprehensions about inviting someone out to their home. But when you see the experience and professionalism, you can trust them with bringing your project to life. Their vision is to be the company that people want to do business with. Watching them work from idea to installation gives you the ability to see firsthand the care taken to ensure the Pella experience is complete. When you want long-lasting comfort and reliability, it's easy to trust Pella. Every piece is specifically constructed for you and your home, always designed with innovation and rigorously tested for quality and performance. The Pella team takes pride in constructing quality windows and doors with meticulous attention to every detail. Order by the end of the month and get 0% interest for up to 5 years. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply. It's 9/30/2025.
Tired of hearing no from other banks? No to a loan? No to a checking account? Just no? At Brewery Credit Union, we find ways to say yes. Yes to second chances. Yes to rebuilding credit. Yes to helping you save, borrow, and thrive. Work with our credit specialists and move your financial life forward. Brewery Credit Union, Milwaukee's best place to borrow and save. Visit brewerycu.com. That is brewerycu.com. Federally insured by NCUA.
Immerse yourself in a place where bold ideas are sought after, where all are encouraged to bring their personal flourish. Here, innovation is a way of life. In this city, the beat flows. Together, we're dancing to the rhythm. Forward. Now, it's your turn to grab hold of that energy, where you'll remember not just the meals, the celebrations, or the oncoming coast. What you'll remember is how we made you feel. Come experience Milwaukee, where fresh meets fearless every day.
Are you looking for ways to give back to your local community? Use volunteerwisconsin.org to find opportunities to volunteer your time with organizations making a difference near you. As we celebrate United Ways Month, we're also celebrating you. Visit volunteerwisconsin.org or get in touch with your local United Way or Volunteer Center to find out more about local opportunities to get involved. VolunteerWisconsin.org is hosted by United Way of Wisconsin and Serve Wisconsin. Paid for by United Way of Wisconsin.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
LaRon asked me if I've ever tried pig wings. I have not. They're pork, I'm assuming, little pork nuggets. I'm not opposed to pork. I'm not one of those people that doesn't eat pork. I love good pork chops. Bacon is good. I just had some bacon the other day. I went to the Nick, the restaurant, and the person I was with got a turkey burger with bacon on it. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. But then I ate her bacon. And then to let y'all know how scatterbrained some of the people are via the YouTube chat, I mean, you can join them. If you go to youtube.com or open up your YouTube app from your smartphone or your mobile device and search 1017 The Truth and hit subscribe. Lady B says, I cringe when Sherwin says panties. Why? What am I supposed to call them? Underpants? That sounds gross. That's what little kids wear. Underwears. Some drawers. Panties. Panties are cute. You know what I mean? Like they're cute little lady undergarments. Let's talk to a woman who doesn't wear any. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good morning, Professor.
Damn.
Good morning to all the beautiful black and white people of Truth Nation, Milwaukee, and America. Hey, Sherwin. That was funny. I do both. I don't wear them, and I do wear them. I know. And I don't call them panties or underwear. I call them bikinis for adult women. But Sherwin, I tell you, Sherwin, Lord have mercy. We love us some Sherwin Hughes. Yes, we do. You can make us mad, glad, happy, sad, and laugh. But we love us some Sherwin, and we thank God that Sherwin is still with us.
Thank you, Linda.
God for Rick. Huh?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Rick and Zach, the EMT twins.
Yeah. Yeah. I thank God for moving and guiding them in perfect timing. Hello, somebody. But to answer your question yesterday, lashes run $150 to $350. Damn. Yes, they do. But I want to say this too, Sherwin.
Wait a minute.
Because I really
hold on.
Huh?
I'm still stuck on the cost of the lashes. That's ridiculous. And how often do you have to get them done? They last forever. If you pay $150 to $300, they last.
No, once a month. That's why I don't wear them. I don't waste my money on those lashes, because when they start falling out, then your lashes look like it's missing a lash, and then you got to wait 4 to 6 weeks to get it done again, and that's $150, and they only stay in 2 weeks, and then your new growth come out and it push the fake lashes off, and no, it's not worth the money to me. Okay. That's me.
All right.
But hey, Sherry, I wanted to say first of all that. Yes, every man, come on. As a gifted educator, I hear your gift of storytelling. And, man, I'm just trying to tell you, you just get me all engulfed and interested in. I be hanging on the cliff with this. You know how to hold suspense. You know how to add, you know, when to drop the humor and all of that. I'm telling you, this is a sitcom, and you need to ask AI to help you put it in a sitcom format and get production going. Get Milwaukee on the map. I'm trying to tell you, because when you're talking, I see Steve Harvey radio show. I see Martin's radio show, and I hear all these characters, and I see all these characters like Allen, Al, me, and, you know, calling in and coming by. It's a sitcom, man, and you can make money and put Milwaukee on the map again. So anyway, I want to say this about Martin Luther King, you know, one of his speeches. He says, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Hello, somebody. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. Hello, somebody. The time now is right to do right. Hello, somebody. So that's what I had to say. And then my last point is this, Sherwin. When me and you talk, yes, I am Michelle Obama's sister. Yes, I am. I am good black women sisters, and I do speak up for them. Yes, I do. Because we can't be grouped with toxic black women. We're separate. We're separate. Anyway, you should play Lattice Black Woman. Man, that song speaks to the positive black woman, for real. But yeah, Sherwin, so my last point is this. You know, I've been hearing some little sly, some download like criticism towards Linda. And I'm like, Sherwin don't want to see my Sasha Fierce again. You saw her at the election party, and Curly Q stepped up and stood with me. But baby, if you want to tap into my Sasha Fierce, come on, bring it. For real.
Let me see that.
Talk to you later.
I don't know what she's I don't want to tap into anything, Linda. I don't remember what she's referring to. What election? So, we went to Mr. Beast.
Let's say the one at Mr. Beast.
Oh my God. Yeah. So do y'all remember when that lady showed up in the studio wearing that wig?
The Cruella?
Yeah. Cruella DeVille wig. And then that same lady came to my house. Remember that? So that lady came to the election night watch party. That was in November last year, and she brought me a big bag of Kit Kats. And then, so she was there. Curly wasn't at the election night watch party. Vanessa was. Al came. Was Al? Yeah, Al was there. You look like you need a shot of Remy. So Al was there. A few other people came too, but I don't know what Linda was referring to. But Linda, thank you for the compliments. I laugh because her conversation will go from what she calls women's underwear. She calls them bikinis, and then she'll bring up something I inquired about yesterday, the cost of eyelashes that women buy. And then she's like, for my next point, let me quote Dr. King. But no, I appreciate those of you that get a lot out of this program, because that is what I intend to do. Because if we're going to have black radio, then let me be clear, our community never asked for. We're asking for fairness and equality and opportunity and more investment. Well, let's make the radio the best it can be. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 3.
Come in with straight truth.
Everything got a message. I'll say this. Y'all can't be tired if y'all still messing with the negative energy. Every day I get on and say, the power of the tongue. Impulsive negative thoughts, reacting. And these kids watching you reacting all wild and crazy. The programming you watching on TV. The music. Now, like Security Mike said, it's popular to pop somebody. It's popular now. And these kids coming back to somebody's house. They coming to eat a meal at somebody's house. They hanging out with somebody in the neighborhood who got a house, who paying the rent. They hanging out with you. They may be your relative. They may be your buddy. That social acceptance is there. Understand what I'm saying? So when we really tired, we gonna cut it off. We gonna stop it.
Tune in to all your favorite 1017 The Truth shows all day, every day by downloading the Truth app.
How is it possible for somebody to be found guilty of something and serve no jail time? How is it possible that someone can get a first offense misdemeanor when it comes to marijuana here in the state of Wisconsin and can face up to 6 months in jail, but two men who are convicted of murder get probation? This is not what justice is about. Why does this keep happening, Truth Nation? And why does it always seem like black people die and we don't get the justice that we deserve? How should we react to this? If you commit a crime, you must do the time. If you take somebody's life, you have to pay the cost. I don't care that it was an accident, because it does not make sense to me how someone can be murdered and somehow they get no time. Even if you accidentally kill somebody, you are still a murderer, especially when you plead guilty to felony murder. Marijuana will get you more time in jail than killing somebody, especially when it comes to a black man here in America, unfortunately.
Catch Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace every weekday from noon to 1 p.m. on 1017 The Truth and the Truth app.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
America's hunters and target shooters, along with firearm, ammunition, and archery manufacturers, have invested more than $46 billion to help state fish and wildlife agencies manage and protect wildlife and wildlands across America. For more information, visit outdoorstewards.org.
Listen to the home of the 5K Gruber Cash Giveaway. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. The U.S. Department of Justice appears to have quietly removed information online regarding right-wing violence following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. As of Friday, September 12th, a 2024 study titled, quote, "What NIJ Research Tells Us About Domestic Terrorism" no longer appears on the Department of Justice website under President Donald Trump's administration. However, it's still viewable online as an archived post. Quote, "Militant, nationalistic, white supremacist violent extremism has increased in the United States. In fact, the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism," the first two lines of the study read. And let me just take that for what it's worth. I do not belong to, agree with, nor subscribe to a political affiliation and a party apparatus that is responsible and has a monopoly on political violence in this country, full stop. Are the Democrats perfect? No. Stop expecting them to be. Ain't none of us perfect. I like my outfit today, but I'm not crazy about my shoes. But I got as close to perfect as I can get now. Ain't nobody perfect. Stop thinking the Democrats have to be. None of us are. There's far from perfect. Then there's the attempt at being better, which I think the Democrats are, wanting people to have a decent life and make decent money and have decent benefits and get health care. Then you have a political party that has monopolized political extremism and violence. I don't subscribe to that. I see enough violence in Milwaukee, y'all. I don't need a political party that embraces it and uses it as a useful tool. That's just me. You do you. Violence in our politics. It shouldn't be violent at all. The only violence in our politics is somebody gets a little agitated because they got to wait in line too long to vote because it's a popular election going on. That's it. Shouldn't be nobody just trying to kill people for. You're an American. Don't kill American people because you don't agree with them. Figure out why you disagree with them and then go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich like Mandela Barnes did when he was running for the U.S. Senate. He made many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in his commercials. You remember Mandela's commercials, making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Now they say he wants to run for governor. Don't make no more peanut butter sandwiches, Mandela. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches aren't even that good. You got to be in the mood for them. A real ice cold glass of milk will really make anything sweet taste good. I don't think that there's anything like a rich dessert, a good piece of carrot cake and some milk, ooh, or a good soft, kind of chewy. It's got to have good mouthfeel. A good chocolate chip cookie. Can I do a side note before I get into all of the documented political violence that I have? I've got 2 web browsers full of examples of political violence in this country that has come from the right. In fact, I have an article called Terror from the Right. It documents political violence coming from the right political affiliation going back to the Oklahoma City bombing, which was April 19th, 1995. So I got 30 years of evidence of actual things that happened where somebody said, yeah, I'm a right-wing extremist. I blew up this abortion clinic because women should have babies when they get pregnant. It's not even close. And the fact that Donald Trump is using the Charlie Kirk killing to demonize the left and to go after them and to use the power of the federal government and the FBI and the Department of Justice and the damn RICO law to go after his political opposition, the only thing holding Donald Trump accountable is the left, is the Democrats. Are the Democrats perfect? I said they weren't. Don't expect them to be, but somebody has to hold this man accountable. And I know a lot of you want the Democrats to do more. Not a lot they can do. Not a lot they can do right now. How far the Democrats go, here's something for you. Depends on us. How far do you want them to go? How many votes are we going to cast for them? How hard you want them to push back on Trump is going to determine their electoral strength. Now, we can't vote on how much we like the person or like the personality and all that other stuff. You may not get a bunch of charismatic Democrats, but just know what their party stands for, and they will be the strongest armor that we can have against losing this nation and this nation going further down an authoritarian drain that is really going to be hard to get this nation back from. It's going to be real tough because for the foreseeable future, this Donald Trump style of mean, nasty deportations. This man is taking 40% of the federal government's investment in cancer research away. Somebody told him, I don't know who, it don't matter, probably Stephen Miller, that African Americans have worse diagnoses of cancer. The New York Times did a fantastic study on this, a fantastic article. And New York Times is real journalism. And here's the thing about the New York Times, side note on them. They know Trump better than anybody else. They've been covering his ass for 50 years. So believe the New York Times. They know him. That's where he took out that ad talking about the Central Park Five should be given a death penalty even when they were exonerated by DNA and were cleared of a crime they were falsely accused of. So the New York Times knows. New York Times put out it was a story, and I talked about it on, must have been Monday, maybe yesterday. I don't know. The days run together. Where Donald Trump likened the federal government's investment in cancer research to DEI because African Americans who suffer worse from cancer, have worse diagnoses. Our diagnoses are usually later stage, and our mortality rate is higher. The federal government's investment in cancer research is helping African Americans beat and survive cancer. Trump now thinks that cancer research is DEI and he's seeking to eliminate it. Let me also tell you this. For every $300 the federal government, our money, invests in cancer research, we extend somebody's life by a full year. And he's cutting 40% in year one. Usually if there is a program that a president does not like, and I know why he doesn't like cancer research investment, because Barack Obama made Joe Biden the cancer czar after Beau Biden died from brain cancer. They called it the moonshot. Joe Biden was to direct research and funding from the federal government to doctors and hospitals and other places that were doing yeoman's work on trying to research and understand cancer. Donald Trump is cutting 40%. You know what that means? People are going to die. And yes, that includes white Republicans too. The strongest shield that we have against that. Listen, you can agree with Trump on a whole bunch of stuff, whatever. Nobody agrees that voting for him is going to get reduced funding for cancer research. To me, that is disgusting. In fact, I find it murderous. We had to deal with one of our beloved here, 1017 The Truth, that had to suffer through breast cancer. Now, she's okay. She be on Facebooks. She be liking and posting stuff. Shout out to Cherie Harris. She was our first general manager. We miss you very much, Cherie. And Cherie, you know what? You were right about everything. She ain't never lied one time. She might... She very well is still here with us today, our former GM of 1017 The Truth, because of those Barack Obama and Joe Biden investments in cancer research. Now, Donald Trump is going to cut 40% of the funding. Y'all may lose your Cherie Harris because of what Donald Trump is doing. I don't care whatever your political affiliation is, why you lie to yourself and tell yourself that Donald Trump is good for this country. If you lose a loved one to cancer, you need to put some blame on him. And guess what? He ain't going to help bury your family member. So, are the Democrats perfect? No. But they're not going to cut cancer research funding. We have a damn anti-vaxxer leading the Department of Health and Human Services. In a nation where healthcare is a luxury, you have cases of the measles rising. Children are getting the mumps again. And rubella. I don't even know what rubella is. I thought rubella was one of my grandmother's friends. It's a disease, apparently, that was extinguished with a vaccine. And now we telling people, oh, your kids don't have to get vaccinated. They have natural immunity. The strongest argument against that is I was watching a documentary on who knows what. And they were walking through like an old-time cemetery, you know, where all the gravestones are crooked because it's so old. It's like a scene in a horror movie. It's got moss growing on all the gravestones. You got to, like, dust off the tombstone. And then you would see, like, born 1890, died 1891. And you see another little gravestone that would say born 1900, died 1902. As this person was walking through this old-time graveyard, it was nothing but children. But then once you get past the 1940s and the 1950s, you start seeing somebody born 1946, died 1989. Born 1951, died 2022. The difference was vaccinations. The best thing that this nation did to improve reducing infant mortality and childhood mortality were vaccines. And now you have somebody who is in control of the Department of Health and Human Services that wants to bring us back to a time when children die early. I wonder why that is. Who's having more children in this country? Do you know? Women of color. They're having more children. White women are not having children like they used to. In fact, white populations are dwindling. And again, look all this up on your own. Do not believe a damn thing that I say. Find evidence that refutes what I say. You're going to be busy. But go ahead. The reason why they overturned Roe versus Wade, because not only are white women having more children, and they're having more children because, number one, it's too expensive. They don't want them. The whole idea of marriage and family has changed, but also white populations are older. The majority of white people in this country are what we call post-reproductive age. The average white person in America is damn near 50 years old. They're not having kids anymore. So if we know vaccinations extend the lives of children, follow me here, and the majority of the children are being born in America are Latino, Asian, Black, biracial, then have a campaign against vaccinations. You would think, oh my God, Sherwin, that's horrible. You don't fully realize who is in control of this country, do you? He cut cancer research funding by 40% because he called it a DEI program. This is what they're doing. And every time I talk about this, it really hurts people because they could never imagine this wonderful America where we have the 4th of July and have fireworks and have backyard barbecues and we have parades and we have celebrations. We don't think that our country could ever operate like this. Do you think that this kind of stuff could happen in another country somewhere else, like a third world country? The answer is probably yes. America is now the damn third world country that you thought was somewhere overseas. It's in your backyard. And it was easy for it to happen because we didn't think it could. We didn't think this could ever happen in our country until it did. It's happening right now. Because, you know, this is the backlash to having 2 terms of a successful black president. They had to make sure that that never happened again. If Barack Obama sucked, we wouldn't be going through all this. Isn't that crazy? If Barack Obama was a one-term president that failed and screwed up the economy and like got us into more wars, they would just use his bad presidency as an example to never vote for another black president ever again. But they can't. They couldn't do that. He turned this country around with nothing more than hope and change in his pocket. Obama didn't even have a plan. I'm gonna hope and change. Hey, I'm part Barack Obama, part Cavalier Johnson, the mayor of Milwaukee. I'm gonna make this country. We're gonna turn it around. Look, and Michelle, that's my wife. Look at her. Do a shot over to Michelle Obama sitting on somebody else's lap. If Barack Obama was terrible, then they could use his bad presidency as an example. But he was good, and there was no scandals, and he didn't ruin the country. The home foreclosure crisis averted. Banks weren't lending again. We were losing 1 million jobs a month under George Bush. They ended up creating 15 million jobs, got the economy humming again, got the banks lending again. Our automakers were about to go bankrupt, fixed all that. Cash for clunkers, probably a bad idea, but all of it worked. And then Trump comes in angry. And a lot of other people were angry too because they felt left behind because the economy is also transitioning. We were starting to see the early signs of automation, and that hurt a lot of people. We do ship a lot of jobs overseas, and that's been happening for a long time. And so we saw all these other wonderful and optimistic things. But you know what else people saw during the Obama years I think made a segment of white America really mad? Black joy. We were happy. We were proud. Everything that we had ever done had come to fruition under Barack Obama, and he was good, and he was ready, and he was prepared. And he gave us power, and he gave us self-esteem. He gave us something white America never could. He made us feel good about ourselves, that we could do anything. They didn't like that because they don't know what that means for them. Like, wait a minute, what if there's another one? What if there's another Barack Obama that, like, encourages their revolution? We got to shut it down. Trump was born out of that. And so Trump was like, oh, let's challenge his citizenship. You can't get anywhere remotely close to running for president of the United States if there's any question about your citizenship and where you were born. Barack Obama was born in Hawaii. Here's the problem. Some people in this country are so damn stupid. Some people think it's 52 states. You know that? Alaska and Hawaii are 51 or 52. No, dummy. Obama was born in Hawaii. Some people don't think Hawaii is a state. And look where we're at right now. Now we're losing funding for cancer research, and the president is weaponizing the FBI and the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies. So, if you think the Democrats aren't perfect, you're not alone. They're not. But our votes and the electoral strength that we apply next November, and trust me, we have plenty of time for things to get much worse. By the time we arrive in November, if you're sick and you're tired and you're fed up and you just want cancer research funding back, the Democrats are going to be your last best hope. Okay? All right, take a break, come back. Can we play that clip, Zach, coming back? I want you guys to see something. I also have some more information I want to provide to you about all the terrorism from the right. But there's a video I want you to see. So go to YouTube, and it visually explains how white people in the rural South vote for Republicans, even though Republicans will cut benefits that they need because they have been so hardened by poverty that they don't care if the government cuts their benefits because it's also going to cut benefits for black people too. And they believe that black people will suffer worse than them. And here's the thing, all of the suffering is totally unnecessary, but the motivation that they have to continue in their suffering because they think that black people will suffer worse is like, you just got to see the video. So we're going to play that when I come back from this break. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
This is 1017 The Truth, Kyle Wallace, and the time is now, Milwaukee. Truth to Power is your platform. And on my show, our community always has a voice. There is no topic that is off limits, and I always give you my authentic opinions on how I feel because keeping it real is the only way I know how to get down. Listen to Truth to Power with me, Kyle Wallace, every day from noon to 1 p.m. on the award-winning 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on YouTube at 1017 The Truth. Milwaukee Black Talk.
Celebrate the reigning queens of disco with Disco Divas, running at the Bradley Symphony Center September 26th through the 28th. Principal Pops conductor Byron Stripling will lead the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra and an all-star trio of vocalists in all of your favorite hits from the disco era. Think Donna Summer, Patti LaBelle, Diana Ross, and Chaka Khan, as well as the Bee Gees, Earth, Wind & Fire, and even Michael Jackson. Those silky high strings and thumping bass lines will never sound better as you dance and sing along in your seat to tunes like I Will Survive, We Are Family, I'm Coming Out, and more. So what are you waiting for? Get those sequins out of storage and call the box office now at 414-291-7605 for Disco Divas or visit mso.org.
Ready to buy your first house, move into your forever home, or simply refinance? At Associated Bank, they've got you. With the right lending plan and guidance, you can achieve your dreams. Your financial goals are much closer than you think, and Associated Bank is excited to help you reach them. Learn more at associatedbank.com/lending or ask a banker for details. Subject to credit approval. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Friday Night Lights now officially lives here. 1017 The Truth is the proud home of Marquette Hilltoppers football. Tune in Friday night as the Hilltoppers travel to take on the Economawalk Raccoons. Join our coverage starting at 6:30 p.m., leading up to kickoff at 7 p.m. Marquette Hilltoppers football is presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. And sponsored by Left's Lucky Town, C.G. Schmidt, Capital Insurance Agency, Boyle Fredrickson, Annex Wealth Management, Magic Productions, and Burkhart Sporting Goods.
The Humane Animal Welfare Society, HAWS, believes in keeping pets healthy and families together. No one should have to choose between rent and veterinary care. The Wellness Clinic at Hawes Animal Shelter in Waukesha offers important basics of dog and cat care to our community. Pet owners can schedule general exams, sick visits, receive vaccinations, even get preventatives and nail trims. Appointments are available weekdays and can be scheduled by calling 262-542-8852. Contact Hawes of Waukesha today for your pet's care.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Hey, Bill, I'm here in Mississippi, the poorest state in America, which is also the most conservative state in our union.
So why is Mississippi so conservative?
Well, you're in the heart of the Bible Belt. We believe in family. We believe in Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Whoever gets elected needs to be
family orientated.
God should come into his mind in everything that he does.
You never liked the president, did you?
Never, and never will.
Why not?
One thing, his name's Obama.
This is America. Our president should be American, not Muslim.
I don't even like it. When I see him on TV, I turn it off. I don't like it.
Is it because he's black?
No, it's not because he's black, because he's a half-breed. Well, he's black too, but he's a half-breed.
I guess I'm a little prejudiced.
Are you? You don't like black people?
Not much.
Why not?
Just don't.
What is this? Where are we?
We're in the state of Mississippi. I don't care for the government. They don't show me anything.
You get food stamps.
Yeah, but I think I deserve food stamps. I have no employment.
I hate Obamacare. I think it's retarded and pointless.
But a lot of people in Mississippi need health care.
Yeah. Back when I was growing up and when my parents were growing up and my grandparents were growing up, we didn't have all that and people still made it. And back then, people pulled their own weight. They didn't sit around waiting for everyone else to take care of them.
So you don't care about the economy?
No, just take care of yourself. You put God back in the saddle, and I'll be okay.
So something's not working here.
That's
Voting
right.
Republican hasn't worked for you.
But it could.
But it hasn't.
It hasn't, but it could.
Why is the poorest state the most conservative state?
We would rather go broke and die hungry than to give up our moral beliefs.
I feel like that voting God and voting faith is more important to me than voting for free money or voting for a handout.
I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, even if I go broke doing it.
We're not going to be pushed over. We lost the war. That's true. But we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to back down from what we believe. And like the tag on the front of my truck says, the South will rise again.
That explains it better than I ever could. The words of, like, if you saw the video, like, these guys have no teeth. Like, one guy is like a hoarder with just like junk laying all over the place, and just like his dogs are laying on top of a pile of refuse and rubbish. They aren't going to vote for free money. I don't like Obamacare because it's pointless, and he said the R word. But you have no health insurance. Well, if God will give me health care. No, God is probably going to give you cancer, in which there's no cancer funding. So that video was shot when Barack Obama was president, because like that sentiment of those people was way more pronounced and more evident when Obama was president. But do you see how Donald Trump could be their savior? Doesn't it all make sense? Let's talk to Al. Now, hold on, man. Listen. So I heard you this morning talking to Dame and Homer, and you kept it real respectful, Al. So we don't want to talk about somebody trying to get 5-year-old kids pregnant. So we don't want to talk about that today, okay? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I totally understand, but I wish they would stop doing it. Because if they God care for them so much, them pigs wouldn't be walking around there with STDs. If their God and their morals cared so much, them people down in Arkansas wouldn't be committing suicide because they voted for the orange goldfish. You know, goldfishes, you feed them too much, they'll have heart attacks. Heart attacks. But one thing we must have to understand about Republicans, they are mediocre white men. They don't want to be told they're wrong. They're almost like that one person in your neighborhood. They keep having all these kids, but ain't nobody leaving in the house because they keep messing with the grandchildren. So they don't like it when you tell them about that, because when you pull the pie crust away, you didn't see nothing but rot on the bottom. That's why they was having lice and ticks when they found out that man who had shot that boy in Utah was white. They was walking around there with palpitations, and I was sitting back laughing. But you know why they want to make us suffer? Because, see, we know how to make it. They've been sitting up here talking about, I got my last $2. We know how to make $2 and make it work like $4. They'll buy a whole bunch of crack and say, I can't do this no more. I'm going to end it over. With the straight shooter with too much SOS pads, and they'll jump off the home bridge. I can't do this no more. Jump. 'cause I'm down to my last $2. And when they slap that water, Jesus is going to be sitting right down there looking like, oh, well, why did you jump? You believed in me, but I didn't believe in you. And I'm going to go right on up here to my solid gold with my streets of gold and my porcelain African stone tile with my crystal chandeliers. Like I said, they're mediocre men and they're hypocrites. Because when you look at basic common sense, a lot of them are illiterate and a lot of them know about being dirt poor. Because a lot of them are sister, brother, auntie, mama, cousin, grandma, first cousin, all that stuff. They just don't talk about it. So they can never make us struggle because we're hustlers, we're innovators, we know how to make it. And I'm going to end it just like this. Down to your last $2. And even though that person got y'all up there japping out, clacking on your AR-15s and chewing on that tobacco, spitting with only one pit bull tooth in your mouth, he's sitting there at Mar-a-Lago and some of y'all sleeping in campers for $400 a month. So who's the joke now? Have a good one. Bye. Have a good day.
I'm not gonna lose. One going for my best friend, other one for the jukebox to hear me some blues.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I'm very familiar with Gruber Law offices because they're always out in the community.
Gruber Law offices are known to be honest, hardworking.
They're always involved in our neighborhoods.
Gruber Law offices make our community a better place.
They are the best.
For nearly 40 years, Gruber Law offices has helped people throughout Wisconsin. If you're injured, we're here to help. One call, that's all.
Wisconsin would not be the same without Gruber Law offices.
Pull up to Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee and shoot your shot at big wins for Sweet Ticket September. Play with your rewards card for entries. Score triple on drawing Thursday. Win slam dunk prizes like cash, reward plate, and tickets to see the Milwaukee Bucks in action. Sweet Ticket September. You ready for this? Only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Here is Dr. Ken Harris with his truth.
Juneteenth signifies the occasion in 1865 when the final enslaved blacks in Texas were notified of their liberation 2.5 years subsequent to the Emancipation Proclamation. The moment when 100% of victims of slavery finally recognized their liberation indicated the principles of the U.S. Constitution came to be universally applicable. This represents a success for Black Americans and a subsequent and significant point in American history, highlighting the nation's alleged dedication to liberty and justice for all. The recent verdict in the murder of Sade Robinson serves as a reminder of the enduring evils and oppression we still face. Despite independence, numerous blacks still encounter exploitation, and they are masquerading as freedom. Commemorating Juneteenth compels us all to acknowledge these realities and compel the nation's past and promote a truthful national narrative. Juneteenth, along with the murder conviction of the disgusting individual who killed Miss Robinson, serves not merely as a celebration, but also as a summons to action. Remember this history in your daily discussions and interactions. If Juneteenth caused the conflation of liberty and justice for Black America, I say one death represented by the murder of Miss Robinson is a denial of liberty and an injustice to all of Black America.
This has been Truth Takes on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Listen to The Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris, weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
moment you've all been waiting for. Here we go. Multiple independent data sets and expert reports show right-wing/far-right actors have been responsible for far more ideologically motivated violent attacks and fatalities in America in recent decades than left-wing actors. So I'm going to give you some clear, verifiable examples with numbers and context and sources so you can follow the evidence yourself. Number one, National Institute of Justice, Department of Justice funded review, far-right fatalities highest since 1990s. In an NIJ literature review of domestic terrorism research found that far-right extremist attacks have produced more ideologically motivated homicides in the United States since 1990 than far-left or even Islamist extremist attacks, hundreds of deaths across many incidents. This is a synthesis of multiple data sets and scholarship the NIJ reviewed. 2, ACLED, Projects for Conflict, Extremism, and Democracy, Far-Right Violence in U.S. Politics. The ACLED's U.S. data and reports document spikes in political violence tied to far-right militias, white supremacist movements, and militia-style actors, especially around election cycles and the post-2020 period. The ACLED's county reports and thematic briefs show far-right groups are a major driver of violent incidents tracked in the United States political violence data set. Number 3, the Southern Poverty Law Center, Hate and Anti-Government Extremist Groups and Activities. What it says, the Southern Poverty Law Center's annual Year in Hate and Extremism documents large numbers of organized far-right hate and anti-government groups, over 1,000 listed in recent reports, and details violent plots, attacks, and growing networks tied to far-right ideology. The Southern Poverty Law Center traces how many groups have been linked to violent incidents across the United States, and you can look all this stuff up yourself. I'm saying all that to say this. I personally do not subscribe to a political party that has this under its umbrella. Political party I subscribe to wants trans people to be able to go to the grocery store. Big difference. Let the trans people shop. I see them at Meijer. They're looking at the cucumbers like everybody else is. It's fine. Global Terrorism Database, START, S-T-A-R-T, I think that's an acronym, and academic comparisons and patterns of fatalities. Large, long-running terrorism data sets and independent academic analyses comparing ideologies show that far-right extremist attacks in the United States account for a disproportionate share of domestic terrorism fatalities. And that is relative to far-left attacks. Researchers using GTD/START and the U.S. Extremist Crime Database have reached similar conclusions when measuring ideologically motivated killings over time. Number 5, clear, well-documented case. You ready for this? January 6, 2021. Overwhelmingly pro-Trump attackers. The U.S. Capitol attack on January 6, 2021 was an explicitly pro-Trump political attack. Thousands of rioters who stormed the Capitol identified as Trump supporters or carried Trump flags, banners, and signs. Federal prosecutions and the Department of Justice have charged and convicted large numbers of people in connections with that riot. Analyses and reporting, the Washington Post, the Department of Justice, the OIG reviews, and the Associated Press all document that the perpetrators were organized around a pro-Trump narrative and objective to block the certification of the 2020 election in which Donald Trump lost. This event is a concrete example linking a major episode of political violence to supporters of far-right wing political leaders. Black Lives Matter protests because George Floyd was murdered was not the same thing. Stop making that comparison. January 6th is because Donald Trump lost an election and he didn't like it, so he sent people to try and intimidate members of Congress from counting our damn electoral college votes. People were mad about George Floyd because a fascist cop murdered a man in broad daylight in front of 1 billion people. Really big difference. Not the same. But what about Antifa? Antifa is World War II veterans because guess what? They were anti-fascists, and guess who the fascist was? Adolf Hitler. No, Antifa is bad. I'm anti-fascist too. I don't like it. They're bad. Mussolini was a fascist. They really did a number on him. They killed him in public. They didn't like Mussolini in Italy. The NIJ synthesis and related studies say hundreds of ideologically motivated homicides attributed to far-right extremists in the United States since 1990. The Southern Poverty Law Center in 24 and 2025, 1,300 plus hate and anti-government extremist groups documented in recent years. Many violent plots and attacks are tied to these groups, and these are all right-wing groups. The ACLED analysis, U.S. pilot and thematic reports show far-right militias and violent far-right events are among the top drivers of political violence incidents in specific years, spikes around 2020 through 2022. January 6 prosecutions, over 1,200 individuals charged and hundreds convicted/pleaded guilty in connection with the Capitol breach. Overwhelmingly, people identified as supporters of Donald Trump and Stop the Steal movement. Are the Democrats perfect? No, but they don't do this. They don't. Democrats will just come and try to adopt all the puppies before they get killed and euthanized. That's what Democrats do. Democrats want to find homes for dogs and cats. January 6th attack is the clearest empirical example tying right-wing political violence to Trump supporters. Reporting and federal filings identify the attackers as pro-Trump, including flags, chants, social media organizing around Trump's claims. The Department of Justice prosecutions and investigative reporting documents that connection. Beyond January 6, many prosecutions and incidents report about far-right violence note overlap between perpetrators or groups and pro-Trump networks. Also, conspiracy forums or militia recruitment that surged during and after 2020. The ACLED and the CSIS and other analyses discuss how post-2020 political narratives, including from pro-Trump spaces, help mobilize violent actors in America. God, it just goes on and on and on. Definitions matter. Political violence, domestic terrorism, far right and far left are identified across data sets. Some count only fatalities. Some count all violent incidents. Some include violent plots that failed. Others include demonstrations that turned violent. The effect counts. Different data sets, different coverage windows, and it's got all these different acronyms. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. So it's irrefutable. The Anti-Defamation League, Murder and Extremism in the United States, 2024. 2024 data, all extremist murders in the United States. I'm going to say that again because some of you are in the back. All extremist murders in America in the year 2024 were committed by right-wing pro-Trump extremists. All of them. Not a liberal. All of them. The past decade trend, right-wing extremists were linked to 74% of extremist-related murders. Left-wing extremists were linked to 0. Should I say that one again? I think someone... Ralph, pay attention. You're back there sleeping. Ralph, wake up. Listen to this. You're in the back, Ralph. I'm going to say this again for you. Right-wing extremists were linked to 74% of extremist-related murders. Left-wing extremists were linked to 0. The Cato Institute long-term political violence study goes back 50 years. From the year I was born, 1975, through this month in 2025. Since 1975. So the closer we get to the 60s, the more left-wing revolutionary violence you would see as a deep extension of the civil rights movement, okay? Because there's some people that are so mad that the races were separated that they blew stuff up, but they were coming from the left. So the further back you go, the more... So the left wing doesn't use political violence anymore. They use academia and intelligence and knowledge and books and podcasts and smart people stuff. The right wing, they still want to blow stuff up and riot at the Capitol and kill people, okay? There's a difference. Here we go. Since 1975, Right-wing terrorists have killed 391 people. Since 1975, and this is 50 years now, left-wing terrorists have killed 65. 391 is higher than 65. 65 sucks. That's not good. This is a bad number. 65. Right-wing terrorists have killed 391 people. Left-wing terrorists have killed 65. Islamist terrorists killed the majority, but if you exclude September 11th, right-wing terrorism jumps to 63% of all politically motivated killings. The recent trend from 2020 to 2025, right-wingers have committed the majority of politically motivated murders, more than the left and Islamic extremists combined. Those are your terrorists, and you elected one, and now he's cutting cancer research. Are the Democrats perfect? They are not. They're a little too woke sometimes, but I'd rather them be a little too woke than to have the monopoly on killing people because of their political beliefs. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
Get the beat of the Bucks straight from a fan favorite and Bucks legend.
Welcome to the fantastic voyage. Marcus Johnson, the captain of this vessel.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson, a Bucks Plus audio production.
My first mate, Chris Johnson, the only father and son tandem.
Your weekly pulse on the Milwaukee Bucks and conversations with the biggest names in basketball. This week on the pod, Marcus and Chris talk to the host of Hoops Tonight, Jim Tipp. Find Here District now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, or wherever you get your podcast.
It's 101.7 The Truth. Dr. Ken Harris for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. When a customer chooses Pella, one of the most important things to them is honoring that trust and commitment. A lot of customers might have apprehensions about inviting someone out to their home. But when you see the experience and professionalism, you can trust them with bringing your project to life. Their vision is to be the company that people want to do business with. Watching them work from idea to installation gives you the ability to see firsthand the care taken to ensure the Pella experience is complete. When you want long-lasting comfort and reliability, it's easy to trust Pella. Every piece is specifically constructed for you and your home, always designed with innovation and rigorously tested for quality and performance. The Pella team takes pride in constructing quality windows and doors with meticulous attention to every detail. Order by the end of the month and get 0% interest for up to 5 years. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply. It's 9/30/2025.
Friday Night Lights now officially lives here. 101.7 The Truth is the proud home of Marquette Hilltoppers football. Tune in Friday night as the Hilltoppers travel to take on the Economawalk Raccoons. Join our coverage starting at 6:30 p.m., leading up to kickoff at 7 p.m. Marquette Hilltoppers football is presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. And sponsored by Left's Lucky Town, C.G. Schmidt, Capital Insurance Agency, Boyle Fredrickson, Annex Wealth Management, Magic Productions, and Burkhart Sporting Goods.
Ready to buy your first house, move into your forever home, or simply refinance? At Associated Bank, they've got you. With the right lending plan and guidance, you can achieve your dreams. Your financial goals are much closer than you think, and Associated Bank is excited to help you reach them. Learn more at associatedbank.com/lending or ask a banker for details. Subject to credit approval. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance, because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you can save between 5 and 20%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. Visit amfam.com to learn more. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
like some 70s porn music. Homeland Threat Assessment, the Department of Homeland Security 2025. Department of Homeland Security identifies domestic violent extremists, DVEs, as the, quote, most persistent and legal threat to the United States national security, specifically white supremacists and anti-government right-wing extremists. And the leader of that movement is President of the United States. He was reelected. Department of Homeland Security identifies domestic violent extremists, DVEs, as the, quote, most persistent and lethal threat to U.S. national security, specifically white supremacists and anti-government right-wing extremists. So violence has been a useful political tool of the right. It's not their only tool. It isn't. They use Christianity. They use the sanctity and the historic pedigree of this nation. They use tradition. They use being just overall and overwhelmingly conservative. And if those things don't work to get enough political attention, then they'll kill. Then they'll organize. Then they'll have militias. Then they'll do something like January 6th. But Donald Trump allows these groups to continue to build and to grow and to organize with impunity, where previous presidential administrations have investigated them, have gone after them, have pursued them, and have prosecuted them. And I fear for what this all may result in as we head toward the 2026 elections. Right now, Donald Trump is acting in a way, especially by cutting the cancer research funding, because he was told that that's woke, it's DEI, and because a lot of African Americans are benefiting and living longer because of the federal government, which Donald Trump is in control of, because the federal government's investment in cancer research, it is dramatically improving the lifespan of African Americans who are diagnosed with cancer. You have an anti-vaxxer. We can have the conversation if you want about vaccines. What we know is this: in the early 20th century, most infant mortality was due to a lack of vaccines, lack of vaccine science and availability for children, and children were dying before their second birthday. Once we had vaccines, people were dying of normal, regular stuff in old age. If, and it's not an if, the majority of babies being born in the United States are Latino, Hispanic, Asian, or Black, and white women are having less babies, number one, the abortions that white women do have are hurting the white race from still being the most populated group in this country. So overturn Roe versus Wade, because that's going to prevent white women from having abortions. But also the white population in this nation is almost 50 years old. They are what we call post-reproductive. Think about this for a second. It's the same rationale why they want to end cancer research funding by the federal government, because it is helping African Americans who have later stage and more exacerbated forms of cancer and don't live as long, because the cancer research investments is helping us. Trump calls that DEI. But having an anti-vaxxer leading the Department of Health and Human Services, knowing what we know about vaccine history, it improves the life chances of children. If the majority of the children being born in this country are not white children, if you make vaccine skepticism and challenge vaccine science, then guess what? Less Black and brown women are going to get their kids vaccinated, and guess what's going to happen? Those kids are going to die. Don't be shocked by this, because I've just given you, I got more information if you need me to keep going. I only got about 5.5 minutes left of my show. But the political affiliation that aligns itself with the right, the far right, the Christian nationalist right, the Donald Trump sycophantic right, also uses murder, violence, and intimidation. It goes back to the reactionary right, which is the original terrorist group, the KKK. For a period of time, the Ku Klux Klan was the largest domestic terrorism organization on planet Earth. That's something like 4 million members. They did a march on Washington when Woodrow Wilson was president. Either Woodrow Wilson or Calvin Coolidge. There's 4 million members of the KKK. Now, remember, they didn't just start because they hated black people, because hating black people, you ain't got to wear a robe and a hood. You can just hate us. They were an anti-suffrage movement. They didn't want black people to vote, because they thought that we would use our political power like they used their political power to enforce an extremist agenda. All black folks wanted to do after slavery was like find our uncles, nieces, nephews, mamas, husbands, and wives, and probably get a good meal. Black folks after slavery would just want to go to the Olive Garden. I sure enough done heard about that Italian food, but I ain't never had none on the plantation. We weren't trying to overthrow the damn government or kill a bunch of white people. That's never really been our motto. It's too messy. You know, we just wanted fairness, want a good job, want a nice house to live in. So the Klan being an anti-suffrage movement kind of lays the foundation for the right and that political affiliation continuing to evolve its use of violence to get its political point across. They still do it. They did it then, they did it now. Remember, they're conservatives. They conserve their traditions. Do you know why the Klan wears hoods? Has anybody ever asked you that question before? Have you ever thought about it? Like, why do they dress like that? Zach, you are correct. It is to conceal their identity because they are your sheriff's deputies, your police chiefs, they're judges, they're teachers, dentists, doctors, and lawyers. People laugh at them like, ha, 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 you dress like an idiot. You don't know who that idiot is that's under that costume. It's not funny. Because once they take it off, you don't know who they are. Did you ever see the movie Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino? I think it's a masterpiece. Some people think it's too gory, it's too violent. You got to see past that. One of the themes in the movie was when Lieutenant Aldo Raine was going behind enemy lines and capturing and torturing and killing Nazis, he would ask these Nazis that he would capture, he's like, well, what you gonna do when the war's over? And the Germans would say, I'm going to take off my uniform, I'm going to burn it, I'm going to live a normal life. And then Lieutenant Aldo Raine would say something, well, that's what I'm afraid of. Well, we want people to know that you was a Nazi. No, I'm going to go home. I want to hug my mother. I want this war to be over. Now, remember, this is what these Nazi soldiers are saying once they get captured. Well, we can't oblige you in that. And he would carve a swastika into their foreheads with a knife. So even when they took their Nazi uniform off, they still had a swastika permanently engraved in their foreheads. When members of the Klan take off their hoods and their robes, they're just wearing regular street clothes like everybody else. So we can't tell. I want you to imagine for a moment the paranoia that African Americans in the South could have because you don't know who the Klan members are. Let's talk to, and he'll get the last word today, Julius. You're on 101.7 The Truth. Only got a little bit of time left, Julius. Go ahead.
Okay, sure, and I'm going to make this quick. And this is something I'm reading. This is from one of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, and this sums up the way white America thinks about us. And this is real quick. He wrote a note from Virginia, and he acknowledged that the blacks had been under forced, seized, kidnapped, and conceivably somewhat handicapped, therefore. But in the same breath, he fell back into his old fixed conception that Africans were never any more than what they were on the plantation, and they could never be more. He looked at them as abject, dehumanized slaves who sometimes had a wild, uncomprehending trap looked in their eyes. And Jefferson asked himself, how could this figure be part of the human race? And his answer was that an animal, a species, not a human being, and the blacks were never or were not entitled to be treated as were white men and women. And that's the way that a lot of people in this country feel about us. The ones who run the country now, who are Republicans, they feel this way about us. And I don't care if you don't like Democrats or not. I mean, if Joe Biden was in a coffin for 4 years, if he were elected president, it would still be better now than what we have with this buffoon. And so everybody in this country, I mean, it's going bad, man. I talked to you some years back, and I said our country is more polarized now than it ever was. That was in 2016 when Obama was still president, and it's became more polarized to the point that I even mentioned the fact that it's headed towards a civil war, a war within itself. Donald Trump, the enemy is us, and he's putting troops out. You know, the ICE agents who are probably KKK members and white supremacists. That's why they wear those masks on. And they're being deputized just like back in the old days, man. They're being deputized.
We got to leave it there, Julius,
because
my show is over. But I do appreciate your call and your sentiments and your passage reading. Thank you, sir. All right, what have we learned today? look for a Nazi carving in somebody's forehead. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
Come in with straight truth.
And to make matters even worse, Truth Nation, when you look at more numbers, there have been 59 children shot in the city of Milwaukee, and 40 of the perpetrators were also under 18. They were children. So you have almost 60 young folks here. If you go to a private school, some schools only got 60 kids in elementary school, but you're talking about maybe